Welcome to Heist. I'm Bradley Hackworth, joined by Jonathan Ems, otherwise known as Doc. And this
Hello,
week we
fellow
are
humans.
and this week we are going to be covering the 13th Warrior and Sneakers. I Oh my god, I love the 13th Warrior in so many ways, and I know that it has been just trashed by critics and
Was it?
oh yeah. Ebert gave it one and a
Okay.
half.
You know what? I could write a doctoral thesis on Roger Ebert because he was a complicated man and just too big for his own head most of the time. So,
Yeah, I could see
we'll just
that
let that
because
go.
but here's what I'm gonna give some outstanding credit to. The fans throughout the years have given this a lot of love because this has become a cult
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah.
And the fans, I think it
Most.
was 66 when I checked, like the Metacritic, which is
Okay.
like, that ain't bad for a movie that was given 1.5 stars.
Yeah. Well, I know that, for me, I don't know why it's taken me this long to see it, but like even like as a teenager when this came out, like I had a lot of friends told me that I had to go see it. I don't know why I never did, but everybody I knew loved this movie. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised to hear that critics panned it or something like that. So yeah, that's weird.
Well, there
It might have
were a
been one
few
of those like
reasons.
if I were to guess, I would say that they didn't dirty Antonio Banderas up enough. They kept making him look pretty through the whole movie, and so they thought that was unrealistic. Was that their complaints?
Well, you did hire somebody Spanish to play somebody Arabic, so there
Oh,
was that
like
little
that's
bit.
never happened before.
No, I know. But I think the biggest thing that really hurt this one is it was
Mhm.
not supposed to come out in 99. 99 was was a year of incredible films, and this hit theaters the same weekend as The Sixth Sense.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
that's rough.
that's
That's
pretty
rough.
rough. And
Yeah.
it was marketed as a horror movie called Eaters of the Dead, which is the book that it's based off of by Michael Crichton. But when so the initial screening of it, test audience
Hmm.
hated it. Absolutely hated it. So John McTiernan, who also directed Die Hard, he was kind of removed from the project, and the actors were doing multiple reshoots at the same time with Michael Crichton, who stepped up as director, and John
Mm.
McTiernan at the same time. And the actors are like, "What about?" They're like, "Don't worry about what the other guy's doing." And
Just what you want to hear on a movie set. Yeah.
yeah, don't worry about what the other director's doing. No, no, no. We're here. It's like, oh, this is going to be congruent. Which I will say, the movie does not really reveal that much.
No. That's the thing. I mean, I mean, I didn't love the movie. I didn't think it was that bad. Hearing, with if it was that kind of trouble of multiple reshoots with two directors that weren't talking to each other, god damn, it's a miracle this movie turned out as good as it did. Then in that
Mm-hmm.
case, so I
Well, I
gotta
mean,
respect that.
go back and watch the Justice League and see what happens when it doesn't work out.
Yeah, no, no, I have not seen and I will not see the Justice League for many other reasons.
Oh, you've never seen it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
after after uh, uh after Batman versus Superman, I'm not going anywhere near anything Zack Snyder has been anywhere near ever again.
Yeah, let's get him away from comic book movies. He doesn't really seem to understand the characters all that much, and he just turns the characters into whatever he wants them to be. Which,
Yep. The
yeah.
I actually this one critic, I cannot remember their name for the life of me, but I remember reading this one article and it was basically an analysis. It was right after the Wonder Woman movie had just come out, and it was an analysis as to why the Wonder Woman movie was so good while all the others were so bad. And the summary that this writer basically came down to after 12 paragraphs of breaking shit down, they said that the main problem appears to be that Zack Snyder himself is utterly mystified by the very concept of basic human kindness.
Ooh, ooh.
I remember reading that and going like, damn, that is cold but accurate.
Well, now I'm gonna have to go back and watch The Owls of Gaul again for the first time.
Right.
Yeah, because when I found out that Zack Snyder directed that, I was like, what? Zack Snyder did a kids movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
Eh.
alone kinda is gonna make me go see a kids movie, and I'm
Just,
hoping that my nephew
just to see what a nihilistic kids movie looks like.
kinda, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, that's there we go. I'm kind of hoping that my nephew is still young enough to appreciate something like that because I don't want to be sitting there just watching a kids movie by myself, going, "All right, let's see if this is good." I don't want to do that. I don't want to be
It's
that
not
guy.
that. No, nah, it's not so bad. I've done that before.
Okay, well, okay, I'm not saying that I haven't done that before. I'm just saying. All right, so what do you say? You want to get into it?
Let's get into it.
All right. The 13th Warrior, based on Eaters of the Dead, written by Michael Crichton, directed by mostly by John McTiernan, who also directed Die Hard, and also directed by Michael Crichton, who stepped up for reshoots after some really bad test screenings. Starring Antonio Banderas. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a wild one as I'm going through this who's in this film.
Okay.
Okay. Starring Antonio Banderas, Dennis Storhoi as Erger Joyous, Vladimir Kulich as Bolvi, Omar Sharif, which Omar Sharif actually retired from acting after this because he said he was so embarrassed of this film that he did not want to act anymore.
Damn.
So we're lucky
that's
that we
cold.
got Omar Sharif back. Like, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Richard Bremmer as Skeld / Superstitious, Tony Curran as Weath / The Musician, Neil Maffin as Ronith / The Writer, Asbjorn Bear Riis as Halga / Wise, dude, Clive Russell as Healfdane / Fat, which what the hell is that about? Daniel Souther as Egtho / Silent, John DeSantis as Ragnar / Dower, and Albie Woodington as Higlak / Quarrelsome, and Mischa Hausserman as Rethel / Archer. They went through and just kind of like one dimensioned all these characters, but in a weird way that it actually worked.
Yeah, if I were to guess, I would say it's because other than Antonio Banderas and the King, they don't really say each other's names very often. So you kind of you're kind of thinking of everybody in terms of like, oh, that's the Archer guy. Oh, that's the guy who starts all the fights. Though that's the guy who doesn't say much.
That's what's gonna push me to go read the book. So the book was released, I think, in 1976, and
so, okay, well, let me ask real quick. So, when you gave me this movie, you were telling me that I should like be on the lookout of what it was based off of. And just from like the names, my first guess was Beowulf. Is that right?
100%.
Okay.
The one
See, I never read Beowulf, so I wasn't sure.
The one that really kind of locked me in on that was King Hrothgar. Because that's the only name that is literally taken from Beowulf.
Oh, okay.
So, like, because in Beowulf, I don't think it was called the Wendell. It was called the Grundle, or Grendel.
Yeah.
And
Grendel, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And that, it was, okay, Beowulf was a poem, I believe. And what they had Beowulf go and battle Grendel, like a mother dragon or like this epic beast, and they wound up battling like underwater for 7 days or something like
that. Oh Jesus, that's a long time.
It was like a Viking poem, it really just was.
All right.
But one of the kind of fun things about this is they were kind of taking this as it was somewhat of a true story, because there was a book that was submitted, like supposedly that was in a museum that tracked a, the character Ibn or Ahmed Ibn, can't remember what it was, but they were saying that this actually happened, and this character traveled across, went to the Northmen, everything like that, back when Baghdad was or Abbasid al Caliphate,
Okay.
and he actually traveled to this, but it was a hoax. And as it turns out, the two Latin names that this author, like they said, literally mean or literally meant hoax.
Oh, jeez.
Like the
So,
two names,
so
the
it's like
two names were
written
Latin for
by,
fraud and hoax.
okay, so written by Edward Nigma, basically, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah. And I honestly, I loved that. I loved that. Loved that way too much. Just how much people got duped by this story that came up, and the museum themselves kept putting out statements saying, "Guys, this is not a real thing. You have all been duped." And people were
That's
like,
awesome.
"No, it's a conspiracy." It's like, so that's just.
Right.
I think that's
It's
really,
always a
really
conspiracy.
always has to be.
Yep.
Um,
And I
so
just
we
want to make one thing clear.
yeah.
Having just done that, I am not uh, uh, against conspiracies. I'm like, I think Ron Funches said it best when he said, "What do you think? The government's just out there batting 1,000 all the time." So,
No, that was a great. Yeah, that was a
I
great
get
special.
it. Yeah. And, and I've even like just the other day, like it turns out, my parents actually have an old copy of the Warren Report. And I was just like, oh, the Warren Report. And I flipped through and I happened to read a single paragraph about what the doctor said about the bullet wound. And I'm sitting there going like, well, no wonder everyone thought there was a conspiracy. This is some suspicious shit right here. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
And what did he
so
say?
I don't remember now. It was
Oh,
just
okay.
it was just something about like the exit wound looked like an entrance wound or some bullshit like that. So it's like, it was weird. It was weird. I get it how these things get started, but at the same time, folks, you got to calm down, okay? Not everything is a conspiracy.
No, that yeah. I'm not gonna be the dude out here saying that the government like completely trust the government. They're always telling you the truth. We know everything that's going on. No, 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 no,
Yep.
no. No, 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 no. But I'm with you on that. Just slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
Because it ain't what it's just not. It is.
This conversation is more appropriate for sneakers. We should hold on to it.
That's a good point. All
Yeah.
right. So we open on Ahmed's voyage underway, explaining that he had been banished to the Northlands because of a jealous caliph. Oh, yeah, so he fell in love with like the caliph's bride or like
Or
fiance or
so
something.
not like yeah or
Favorite
I mean, they
concubine.
don't. Yeah, they don't really clarify who she is. Just that there's another a more powerful dude is into her, and he complained to their king or something about it. And so the king said, "Guess what? You just been awarded a diplomacy job on the other side of the fucking planet." Which, I mean, Jesus, talk about petty, man. Fucking rich people. I swear to God.
Always. Running from the Tartars, but they don't mess with the Northmen. I love that. Like they were like the Tartars, dude. They were known to leave no man alive. And then they
Right.
run and then they come up against Vikings and they're like, nope, I'm out.
Yep. Turn
We
around.
don't mess with the Northmen. That new uh
Yep.
that I really enjoyed. Something like what movies are Eric Avari not in? He was the caravan leader of this scene. Dude, why is he in every movie we cover? How is this happening?
He's a hardworking man. What can you say?
Yeah, which is weird because this came out the year after he was in The Mummy. And he was just an uncredited caravan leader in this movie.
Huh.
Really,
That's a
like,
good question.
I thought that was really weird. My
Hmm.
guess is he really loved the book. Maybe? Like, I don't know. Ahmed is mad because they won't let him talk, which I thought like just watching Antonio Banderas walking around being petty like that was
Yeah.
that was just funny.
Well, and I guess that's what I was kind of curious about too, because they did say that they were sending him to be an ambassador to the North, He doesn't make clear who he's supposed to be ambassador to. Is he supposed to be ambassador to the Vikings, or is he supposed to be ambassador to the British? Either way, it's like that would explain like if you show up in a part of the country and there's a bunch of Northmen and they're like, don't talk to them, and you're like,
What?
I was literally sent here to talk to them. Like, but they don't say. He just says I was sent to be ambassador to the far north. They didn't exactly say where north.
Well, what
So,
state was the British Empire in the 9th century?
I think they were still a monarchy. They weren't
Because
quite conquering, but
that was like before the Mongols even.
yeah. I mean, to my knowledge, based on other Viking movies that I have seen, when the Vikings were around, England was basically a small Vatican country. You know, they were basically just you know churches and castles, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I need to look this up a little bit more because I did not think Baghdad was called Baghdad until the 13th century.
Mm, I don't know.
But this movie takes place in the 9th century and they're referring to it as Baghdad. But who the hell is going to know what the Abbasid Caliphate is?
That's the thing.
So,
It's like, like I'm sitting here going like I'm an American high school graduate. I don't know what anyone's name used to be except for Constantinople, and that's because of the fucking song, and that's it. That's all I got, and and so everything else, if you're going to call it by its old name from 900 years ago, I'm not going to know what the fuck you're talking about. So yeah, it's possible that they
okay.
kept it Baghdad just for the likes of dumbasses like me. It's been known to happen.
No, that is very true. Okay,
Yeah.
I will give you that. Uh, the whole aspect of meeting the Vikings, and I really love that they mixed in some Old English with some current Swedish to give the Nordic language, and a
Mm.
lot of the actors were Swedish, so they went for some decent authenticity there.
Yeah.
Which we actually talked about that with one of the same characters that like John DeSantis. He was in Master and Commander. He was that lumbering dude who was always behind Russell Crowe with the tea
Mm.
set.
Right, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the guy who was obsessed with tea. He is
Yeah.
the ginormous dude in this movie. Like,
Okay. Well, yeah.
well, yeah, I mean,
He
he's going to
plays
be the
ginormous
ginormous
dudes.
dude, and
That's
yeah, he is a ginormous dude. That's just how that's going
yeah,
to go. But
yeah.
yeah, I thought that dude every time he shows up, like he very rarely actually gets to talk, but he has like a weirdly joyful screen presence.
Mm.
Like whenever he's on screen, it's just like I don't know why. I'm just having a good time. Like I really don't know why. I'm very entertained just by his presence. Uh, the depiction of a Viking funeral and himself, Omar telling him, "You will not see this again. It is the old way." How many times have we seen that depiction of Viking funerals to the point where who doesn't know that? That is
Right, yeah.
such an epically common knowledge thing.
Absolutely.
However, I think this is the first time, the only time that I have seen that the wife actually is part of the possessions when the boat burns.
Uh I saw one other depiction of this. I think it was in the actual like the USA show Vikings, I
Yep.
think. And it wasn't the wife that went with him, it was his servants.
No, that I knew. No, that okay.
Okay.
That I remember that from
Was that who
Vikings,
it
but I
was
don't
that
remember.
who she was?
I thought she was the queen.
Okay. I assumed she was a servant because of what I saw in Vikings. That's what I thought.
Damn, that's a good
Or a
point.
concubine or something like that.
Yeah. All right. So waking up to see the messenger boat and seeing the small boy that is standing on there, letting them see him, so they can decide
Right.
that he's real and not a ghost. My response was
Interesting.
basically Antonio's response is like, see him, he's right on the open. I got a good chuckle out of that one. I'm not gonna lie. Um, all the Vikings passing around that nasty ass water.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene. Yeah.
You're right next to a river. If you're in the middle of the desert and there is no water and like to splash and clean or something like that, sure, maybe, understandable. But when you're literally a dozen feet away from a fresh stream, I don't get slapping booger water on your face.
But that's the thing. It's like to a certain degree, I can even understand like if it's like part of the morning thing, like you all like wash your face from the same bowl. I can even kind of get that. The guy who's blowing snot rockets into the everybody's face washing bowl should have gotten his ass beat though. That's the thing. Like that seems like pretty basic knowledge to me. I don't know what's going on there. Like that
Yeah, that
feels
was where
like
it got a little far from me. I was like,
like but there's also like because he knew that the foreigner was the next one on the bowl. So maybe he was just fucking with him because no one else did that. Everyone else just kind of washed their face, and then he's the one who like got it really good and dirty, and then passed it to the brown dude.
I don't think so. I don't think so because
No.
after it went from him, it went to somebody else and they just kept going anyway. He wasn't the last
Okay.
one,
Yeah.
he was just the next one. So
Okay.
I'm not so sure about that. Uh, I didn't really see racism in this movie.
But that's a
Definitely
good
saw it
point.
in the next one, in the second one.
Yeah, that they for sure got yeah. I mean, other than basically pointing out a bunch of times that he is, calling him the Arab and saying he's not a Northman. Other than that, they seem to be pretty chill and not too prejudiced most of the time. That's true.
Yeah, there's only one line that is really about that, and it's only an Arab would bring a dog to war.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was it. That
And
was
that was
it. That
and
is
that
the
was yeah.
that's like racism light.
Yeah. And once
Because
he
I
learned
mean,
enough of their
if
language
you're a
to give him
Viking and you're on a fucking Clydesdale and you're looking at an Arabian beauty, that looks like a dog.
yeah, that is a tiny toy horse that you're riding there. What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
once he learned enough of the language to clap back at him, they shut up about
that
it.
is one of my
Yeah.
favorite scenes in any movie or the sequence in any movie ever. I
Mhm.
love that scene. Ugh, like that's the thing. Like people like knock this movie or like it was critically bashed and everything like that. It's
Mhm.
got some of my favorite scenes though. So make sense of that shit. I don't like that. Um, the boy comes with a plea for aid, a name that cannot be said. And then they summon the Angel of Death, which we find out is an oracle, and she announces the amount of warriors. There needs to be 13
Right.
warriors. Now, I need to go and read the book because now that I know that all the characters don't just have names, but they have attributes assigned to the characters as well. So, what I'm theorizing is the Oracle had to pick warriors that
Oh,
matched this.
so like those names that you named off, where it's like this is the this we the next warrior must be the archer, and then that's when the archer
Yep.
goes like, it's me, I'll be the eighth warrior. That whole bit. That's what
Yes.
the translation of that whole thing is.
That is my
Okay, okay,
theory.
I could see that. That makes it make sense in retrospect.
That's, I mean, again, that is my theory. That is something that I'm throwing into this movie to, I don't know, just because I want to love
Yeah.
it more.
Right.
uh, I love that, like, when it finally gets down to, like, the 13th warrior, it cannot be a Northman. And I looked at it, I was like, what are you saying? The 13th warrior. You. And I personally think Antonio Banderas crushed this movie to pieces. There is
Yeah.
not a
No,
moment that he is on screen that he is not absolutely perfect for the character.
I do like how the his attendant, the guy who's traveling with him, is also not a Northman, but he's immediately like, "Oh, it's you, not me. You're." He volunteers. He volunteers to be tribute.
I didn't think about that, but that's a good point. Nobody speaks their language, so he'd be like, "My boy here, he just said he would like to go with you guys. I wish it could be me, but he volunteered."
Right. Exactly.
Oh, I didn't see that at all. We already alluded to this. Learning their language throughout the night is one of my all-time favorite scenes ever. just as they go from speaking Swedish and a little bit Nordic over to every once in a while getting a
Yeah.
word that he can understand, and we're getting to be clued in on the conversation as it's going through English, which
Right.
I wanted to kind of highlight a couple things about that. Throughout the movie, Ahmed winds up kind of confused when people say stuff to him, and he has to like think about it for a little bit, and then he like says it back to them in a different way, in a way that he understands their language.
Right. Yeah.
So there were a lot of characters that I remembered thinking that they were really stupid, but now that like when I was going back and watching it on this run, it made me realize that he just didn't understand what they were saying most of the time.
Yeah, because even it's one thing to learn the words, it's another thing to understand the basically like the turn of phrase kind of thing. Like the one that I did like when, the king walks up to him and asks him, "Can you draw sounds?" Like, and even I'm sitting there going like, "The fuck is he talking about?" And Antonio Banderas is like, "Yeah, I can draw sounds." And I'm like, "The fuck you can? What are you talking about?"
No,
And then
I'm
he
with you
gets
on
down on the
that.
ground and starts writing words, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what he's talking about." So like, yeah, I had the aha moment like 30 seconds after Antonio Banderas did. So I was like, "Oh
Which
right, draw sounds. That's a good way of saying it. I kind of like it.
I
There should
like
be
it
there should
too.
be a rock band called Drawing Sounds."
How is there not already?
Yeah.
That moment where he's going through and he's learning their language throughout the night, throughout the fire, which you do get the impression that it's only one night, but I don't think it was.
See, I did not get that impression. I got the impression that it was multiple nights because they did kind of like, even though it was all the same setting, they're all still sitting around the fire and it's dark and all that sort of stuff, and it was obviously at night. It was interspersed with scenes of like horses moving through trees. So I don't know if they intended it to be all one night or if it was just kind of one of those like
It
they
wasn't
shot it all
clear
in one
enough.
night and then
That's all I'm gonna
yeah,
say. It wasn't
they kind
clear
of
enough.
right. So I
Because
guess it was kind of done in a way of like take it as you will kind of thing.
yeah, because there's the epic intelligence of a character who can learn it overnight, which is I'm calling unrealistic. And then there's the
Right.
epic intelligence of somebody who's going to learn something over a few months of travel, which I'm going to say is just awesome.
Right. Well, and
Because
I have heard. I mean, that is kind of the point of the immersion classes. If you
yeah,
want to learn a language, and they say the best thing to do is go take an immersion class in another country. And I even remember when I was taking Spanish in high school, we one of my classmates even like did a vacation, like a week long vacation in Mexico over spring break. And she came back and did like a whole, got in front of the class and did a presentation of what she saw in Mexico and the culture and what she
hmm
heard in the language and stuff like that. And she even said, just based on what I already picked up in this class, and this was like our first semester, so this was Spanish 1. So just like learning the basics here, if she goes, if I'd have stayed there for another 2 weeks, I probably would have been fluent. Because I was learning as I was going along while I was there. And so,
I can see
yeah,
that.
I would say even if we wanted to go like ultra impressive, just barely in the realms of reality, I would say we could probably put it at about 3 weeks to a month.
Oh
And
yeah,
that
like
would
okay.
be, yeah, that, so
Well,
not
that's
even that, not even months of travel, just basically a few weeks of travel. If he's really, really listening and really, really smart,
and
he
he
probably could
definitely
do it. Yeah.
was. I mean,
Yeah.
because this character, in case you don't know, Baghdad at that era of human civilization was pretty much the smartest place on the planet.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, yeah. All of the scientists and all of the learned people, that's where they went to study. Yeah. That was like, you want to talk about a college town, that was the college town. Yeah.
Yeah, that was essentially the world's very first free university. Like
Uh-huh.
anybody could go there, anybody could learn, like they would go there, they would offer the information and the knowledge of their region, and they would be able to stay there and study for as long as they wanted. Like it was kind of an educational utopia.
Yep. That's why the Christians had to
And
burn it down.
wasn't the Christians?
Wasn't it the Templars?
No, it was the Mongols.
Huh.
No, Hulagu Khan, one of the grandsons of Genghis Khan. he was sent to the region specifically to decimate what was called in English, they're the assassins. I can't remember what their name was actually for that, but it was a group of assassins. And Hulegu Khan was tasked by his grandfather, I believe, by his grandfather, go to the region and wipe out the Abbasid Caliphate and the assassins.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Okay. That moment where he comes up and where did you learn our language? And I love that he sits there and he thinks about it for a little bit. He's like, gotta make sure I have the right words because I can't sit up and go dogfish. Like,
right.
I love that he sat there and he thought about it for a second. He's like,
yep.
Listened. And I loved because the character's name, like the description, was Joyous. And that was a perfect descriptor for that character. Storhoi, I believe the actor's name was. Yes, Dennis Storhoi. And that dude almost died on this production. Antonio Banderas actually saved his life.
Really?
Yep. I'll get there, but it happens in the Thunder Cliffs.
Oh, okay. Oh God. Oh God.
Yep.
That was all the stresses. That was all, like, I have seen movies, read books, played video games that all involve having to swim underwater, and I have never gotten over any of them. That is like all the anxieties all at once.
Well, to jump ahead and just go into that, Storhoi actually got lost under the water, and he wound up hitting a wall, and Antonio Banderas went back into the water, and he grabbed him, and he pulled him out. And when he pulled him out, he had to basically bring him back to life. And Storhoi spent the next 3 days on set in recovery.
So he got CPR from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's precisely why that shit freaks me out. Because it's like, yeah, that's fucked. Swimming through.
Especially considering the fact that he made a joke right before going into the water, and he was the one who almost died. Dude,
right? Yeah,
that would have been a hefty ass tragedy. I mean,
yeah,
because Storhoi, he hasn't had like a super prolific career. He's been in quite a few things, but after watching Storhoi in this movie, I think he should have gone on to be some form of A-lister. I could have watched.
He did kind of carry, like of all of the not Antonio Banderas characters, he had the most front-facing personality for sure, and yeah.
I think he could have. I'm gonna go watch more of his stuff because he was amazing. I enjoy their good nature, especially when they're on the ship and they're just laughing about everything all the time. So much fun. Then getting further north.
Dude, yeah. To think about that. Some poor bastard who's been living in the landlocked country his entire life is now being put on a fucking tiny ass boat in a storm. Jesus Christ, I could feel his pain. And I'm from Oregon. I'm not even landlocked. I get it.
Yeah, but you ain't spend that much time out on boats.
No, I guess that's true.
I love that where you had Bolvi calling Odin's name as they search for land and everybody armoring up. And I love the eclectic nature that they actually did a good job of representing the Vikings, because you had Bolvi's, he was wearing a Roman gladiator's helmet. Like, they literally had shit from everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Because that's what they did. They took the shit from anybody that they conquered. They took their shit. I
think set design did a very good job in this movie.
And I thought that was interesting too with that same thing with that prince, because he looked like when he first starts talking, like for a second I was sitting there going like, yeah, I'm like, is that dude like some sort of like Roman ambassador? Because it looks he looks more Roman than anybody else, and he's got that like kind of Romanish chest plate. He looks like he's a lazy centurion almost. And so like when they're like, who's that guy? And they're like, oh, that's the king's son. I'm like, he's fucking what?
Which you know who that was? He looked right.
No,
that was Anders T. Anderson or whatever his name is.
Yeah. You lost me.
Oh, I thought you've referenced him in the past. That's my bad. All right.
Have I? Wait, what? What's going on?
So Maybe I just really
Yeah,
like the name Anders T. Anderson.
it does kind of jump out at you for sure.
Well, man. All right. Bolvi learns to write pretty fast. And, okay. Last week I talked about the sizable balls of Vincent Gallo for saying, oh my God, it's so big. But
Hmm.
the epic bravery that you have to have in teaching a Viking to say there is only one God, that was, of all the unbelievable things in this movie, which there really aren't that many, that was it. That was the most unbelievable thing, was that a foreigner told a Northman that they're like a polytheistic dude, polytheistic warrior, that there is only one God.
Polytheistic warrior king, for that matter.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of nuts that he didn't just get beheaded right there.
Yeah,
In the name
he
of
did
the
have the
All-Father.
prophecy on. Yeah, he did have a prophecy on his side. The lady did say they needed him there, so
That is
he
true.
he was probably feeling a little ballsy.
When he gets a weapon and he gets that ginormous sword and he's like, I cannot lift this. And again, Storhoi, oh, stronger.
Right.
There was not a line that came out of that dude's mouth that was not absolutely stellar.
Yeah.
This was Antonio Banderas' movie, but Storhoi made this movie.
Right.
Like, he is the thing that makes it so much fun. Then they smell the perfume on the air and they know, like, they think a messenger's coming. It's like, it's a woman. It's a messenger. It's a silk swaddled messenger boy who's like 60.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah. And it was weird because it didn't seem like, because especially when they do get to the village, like this didn't seem like an especially hoity-toity silk wearing village they're walking into, So it seemed
It's
really.
been under attack, though.
I mean, okay, but still, like even everything's made of wood, so.
Well,
Not
yeah,
exactly.
but that's what the Vikings were like, though. They built a lot of stuff out of wood, everything like that. They were somewhat nomadic, until
Mm,
they were literally in their home bases. But they were going and pillaging and stealing shit and treasures. They weren't actually building like big, great halls or anything like that. They were just
I guess that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
stealing shit and living on boats.
It just weirdly out of place at the time. I felt because it was like it's like, oh, who's this rich boy messenger coming to pick us up and taking us to what appears to be the slums, and that's where the king lives. Like the messenger boy was
Right.
more fancy than the king. I thought that was weird.
But I did enjoy because the prince, you could definitely tell the prince was not a warrior. And it seemed like the king was. And I like that because
Yeah.
there was that moment, like he was still a badass. He was a warrior Viking at one point. I don't think the
Hmm.
prince ever was.
No. No.
That's
Yeah.
that that's
Like
the
I
that's
said,
the impression I got.
yeah, the prince definitely had the brat, more concerned with appearing strong than being strong type of character.
Yep, poisoning the king's ear and everything like that. And I
Yep.
loved Bolvi's dig at the prince. Like, I don't remember hearing of any of the prince's exploits, aside from killing his own brothers. And the king stands
Yep.
up for Bolvi. I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. They arrive at Hrothgar's village and see how incredibly defenseless it is. Barely a man between 15 and 50. This is our first discussion where we find out a little bit about what they're referencing. And I like the way that it was shot like this and the way they cut, which is what plagues these lands, old man. And then the way he just
Mm.
looks at him and then cuts and they're like he might be crazy. I really enjoyed that. Like because it kept the mystery alive a little bit, it kept the fear,
Right.
like you understood the fear of it. And that's our first hint at the word Wendell, which
Hmm.
I really need
which
to go on. Yeah.
everyone reacts to, and when he does finally say the word out loud so that Antonio Banderas can have some clue as to what's going on, because he's been bewildered all the way up to this point. When he finally goes, okay, fine, I will tell you what's going on. It's the Wendell. And everybody else in the group goes, dude, don't fucking say that word out loud. we've been talking about that. Like, you're not supposed to say it.
They cannot say the name. Right.
Yeah.
But that very quickly disappears into the story, because they're like, it is the Wendell's mother. And even when they go see the crazy, like, she was old when my grandmother was young. And then we see like a woman in her late 50s. I'm like, what the shit?
Yeah.
You couldn't actually get an old woman to do this? So I thought that was funny.
Yep.
While they're discussing if they believe the king about the creatures, Ahmed sees that small boy running. And this is that Superman thing where, like, you got a naked child in a movie and it's just kind of very uncomfortable. Even though it fits the story remarkably, you don't want to see a little boy's penis.
Yeah.
It's just not,
they
that's
tried,
just not
they,
something.
They tried not to, but they didn't try that hard. Yeah.
They tried.
They wrapped him in something. Yeah. They wrapped
very
him in
quickly.
Something, but then, yep. But yeah.
Make your point. I ran over you, man. Just
I said they tried not to showcase things too much. They wrapped him very quickly in a cloak, but then they also jostled him around a lot afterwards, so the cloak didn't really do much. As opposed to Superman, where it was literally like portrait of a naked child. It's an entirely different thing there.
That was very uncomfortable. And the fact that they like, when they would put that movie on TV, that scene was still in there when I was a child. Blew my mind away. Like, all these people talking about protect the children. It's like, okay, then why were you letting penis on TV?
I think the mentality was that didn't count because no one was sexualizing kids yet at that point. It literally was just, something that happened.
The Catholic Church will see you now.
Okay, no one knew that they were sexualizing kids yet.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
God damn, we're really slamming shit this week. So when the Vikings tell Ahmed it's the Wendell and they come with the mist, then going to that farmstead and all this stuff, and Ahmed, like, what's weird is they were chasing a PG-13 rating in the initial filming, but when they went back to do reshoots, they upped the gore. Which is weird because that was explicitly not their intention. So this scene with the arm, that was one of the reshoots where the arm falls down. One of my another one of my favorite moments of the film, because I really appreciate, I really enjoy it when the camera work actually shows the disorientation of a character. Because when you have the camera do it and you have the actor selling it appropriately, it makes for a very good moment.
Yeah.
The footprints inside footprints, and they eat the dead. Very good. Very good. I like the way that they did that, and they showed like the human footprints inside of like bear footprints. That way, because they were trying to sell that they were a mating of man and beast. So I thought that was really clever. I thought the film work on that was good. I didn't like that they showed that one was like so close to them and keeping an eye on them, because like
that felt weird. Yeah, it didn't pay off at all later. Yeah, it's like you were expecting like maybe there was going to be an ambush or something. Like, why foreshadow that if you're not going to pay it off? And exactly. So yeah, it was a little weird.
Yeah. Then how smart they are, and finding out that their trail disappears in the rocks, and where I do understand how this happened, when like he's going out and shows like, pay attention to the ridge and the ridge over here, and like as the camera's going, you're seeing the animals coming out of there. Like, you probably should have just had animals outside of the trees standing there, showing that they're uncomfortable going into the forest. The convenience of actually being like, all right, look there, and then the animals come out, and then look there,
Right.
and then the animals come out.
Right. Yeah. It's like, what? How did you know that's what we were gonna see? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. That didn't make any sense, but that, that's my nitpicking. Every once in a while I got to
Yep.
get in on that, and that's just one that every time I see the movie, that one jumps out at me.
Mm.
Meeting in the King's Hall. So this is a conversation that happens in the background, and you have to pay attention to what they're actually talking about in the background. All of the other villages in that region are gone. They have been,
Mm.
one was burned 2 years prior, another one had been sacked, and then that's where we get that survivor that comes through and talking about teeth like a lion, head like a bear, like all of that.
Right. Yep.
A lot of that conversation took place in the background, where they were talking about all the different places and why they are the only ones left in that region.
Okay. I mean, I got all that. I don't remember having to pay attention to it, so maybe I did.
The conversation
I
that was
did.
happening was between like Banderas and Storhoi, and he was kind of like
Okay.
asking questions, and then that was the conversation that was mostly happening off screen.
Okay. Okay. I did watch it with subtitles on, so maybe I cheated in that the subtitles were telling me which part of the
Oh,
conversation was important.
that might
So
that might have been, yeah. I
yeah.
enjoyed like the uh basically it worked really well having Antonio Banderas and Strohoi actually just saying the same line in two different ways. It worked so many times throughout the movie, but this was my favorite one. You do not
Mm.
drink tonight? Oh, not drink tonight. Like, I loved how definitive everything that was about to happen was revealed
Yeah.
in the way he said that. That was a
Yep.
fantastic delivery. This,
Yep.
I,
It's like it's serious. Yeah.
I think Strohoi is actually why this is one of my favorite movies. Just
Yeah.
because
Okay. I could see that. Yeah.
his performance is it's too stellar. Like I love him so much. Uh, oh right, we already talked about that. Uh, I really enjoyed that the king wanted to battle. Like when they say the mist is coming and he says, "Fetch me my armor" and all this.
Right.
I really dug that. But then again, that's Viking
I
culture. They want to go
yeah.
out in battle. Like that is
Well,
the goal.
and I appreciated that our the other king, the guest king, he tuned in right away. King's wife does not want him to go die. So I'm going to come up with a really good heroic reason for you to stay behind, which is someone needs to protect the children. And I thought that was, that was one of those like, I see why he's king. He's got this shit wired.
I see both sides of that, but it's like I don't know. Doesn't that feel like a dick move in Viking culture? Like, no, no. If you die in battle, you go to Valhalla.
Right.
You should not battle with us. Like that seems like a dick move in Viking culture.
Maybe a little, but that's the thing is like it was mainly about the queen because the queen was like when she was because they kind of centered the camera on her when the king is
Mm-hmm.
saying bring me my armor, she's looking shook. She doesn't want him to die in battle. She doesn't want him to die at all. She genuinely wants him to survive this. Maybe it's because she's afraid of what happens when his son becomes king. Maybe it's because she actually loves him. Who knows? But that's what our king clues in on as he sees her like absolute fear at the idea of him going into battle and dying in battle, and so he's doing her a favor by convincing the king to stay behind.
I get it. I just don't like it. It's like it just seems really dishonorable in in Viking culture when the entire goal of Nordic religion is to die in battle. Like that.
Yeah,
Like
probably.
that's where I have a little bit of a problem with that. Is like the what is it called? The Sown, the Skane, the Skeen, the Skane.
Oh, the Skine. You're talking about the loom of fate, the
Yeah, the
Skine.
Loom of Fate. Yeah, is Skine? Is
Yeah,
that what it said?
I think it's Skine. Yes,
Yeah. But where they're
I think it
talking,
also
like
depends
where
on
they're
which
talking
region
about
you're
that,
in.
why is the king the only one that was not treated as though that was already in place? I felt like that was a really
May,
weird line for the movie.
maybe literally everyone was on board with not letting that dickhead prince become king, no matter what.
See, I would have enjoyed that explanation in there,
Yeah,
but
that probably would have helped. Yeah.
yeah, I would have enjoyed an explanation like that because from where I'm looking at it, it just seemed like a bunch of asshole Vikings not letting a king go to Valhalla. So, yeah, that's why I'm saying I need to go and read this book. I
uh,
love a lot of Michael Crichton's work. Uh, this is one, and like I said, based off the book Eaters of the Dead, which the movie was titled that. And did you know why they changed the title from Eaters of the Dead to The 13th Warrior?
no, I had not heard.
Michael Crichton was talking to his neighbor, and as his neighbor was watering his garden, Michael Crichton told him the name of the movie. He's like, "Ooh, that's scary." That's why.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Isn't that dumb? Isn't that dumb? However, Eaters of the Dead is a stupid name of a movie.
Yeah. I mean,
I like The 13th Warrior more.
that's the thing is like when you in context, the 13th Warrior makes way more sense as a title for this movie than Eaters of the Dead for sure.
It does. But, I mean, that being the reason that you change it is really dumb. The fact that he
Yeah.
changed it, I agreed with changing it, but I don't agree with the reason that that was dumb.
I mean, especially like, I mean, isn't that like, wouldn't you want it to be scary? Isn't that the idea? If it's this kind
Well,
of
it was
like
initially
sort of
promoted as a horror film, but they
right.
changed
Okay.
they changed the promotion to make it more of an action adventure film, and that's one of the reasons it did so bad at the box office. However, finding out that it did like what 63 million at the box office, maybe I would think that was bad if I didn't just
Yeah.
find out that Borderlands didn't even break 10 million.
No. Nobody likes Borderlands. I'm
Nope.
I'm a little annoyed myself because I was kind of looking forward to it as a fan of I've played all three Borderlands games and I was kind of looking forward to the movie and I was one of those few people who was literally thinking like Kate Blanchett was actually a good idea because I just like Kate Blanchett. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a weird casting choice for her, but I like her, so I'm willing to give her a shot. But yeah, no, it sounds like that this movie from way people are talking about it, the this movie was made almost entirely by a marketing team only, and it's just absolute garbage.
From the sounds of it, like a lot of like the action scenes and stuff like that, you're literally looking at the people shooting the weapon, but you're not seeing the person that is actually getting hit. So it's just stylized one shots and like cool splash pages. That's what the entire movie is.
Yeah,
And casting Kevin Hart to be the serious character in an action comedy, one of the dumbest
yeah.
decisions. Like,
That was the one that got me. That was the first time I thought this movie might be in trouble was when I heard Kevin Hart was playing that role, and when I heard that Tiny Tina was going to be a main character. That's when I went, "Oh no." Uh that's they they must have written, so whoever wrote this movie must have written it not based on the games but based on the memes that people made of the games. That's
I
the
think
only
so,
explanation
probably.
for that. Yeah.
We'll see. Back to it. Everyone pretending to be asleep, and honestly, it's a good thing that Ahmad just happened to wake up.
Yeah.
And then just you're looking around, you see everybody's pretending to be asleep, which again, dick move, Vikings. Why would you just leave the dude asleep if you're all ready? Like,
I mean,
whatever.
yeah.
He would have woken up pretty quick, I'm guessing.
That's the thing. And I mean, that's the thing. It's like if you're all trying to pretend to sleep and one of you actually falls asleep, turning around and waking him up gives the game away. So
True.
you gotta kind of hope that things will work out.
True, but he does shoot up, and I love that. Like he shoots up, and then Storhoi shoves him back down. He's like,
Mhm.
it's like, I am not a warrior. It's like, very soon you will be. And the smize, the smile eyes from Storhoi, like at every moment, it killed me. I was so into that, and battling the Wendell. That was a pretty like as dark as that scene was. I never lost track of what was going on.
Yeah, and it was kind
Good
of
job.
intense. Like that's the thing is like that's kind of what, like, even though, yeah, the scene before where we see the aftermath of their of the farm that was attacked, it's kind of gruesome, but at the same time, like you said, it was, made disorienting. We never really got a look at what was going on. And so when we get like the brutality of this scene where we watch a dude head get ripped the fuck
Yes,
off.
we do.
I was not prepared for that. There was nothing in this movie that set me up with that's the kind of battle we're going to see. Everything else, like you said, everything else leading up to this point in the movie suggests this is a PG-13 movie and we're going to see PG-13 violence. So when the R-rated violence just suddenly appears out of nowhere, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Which a great a great tactic. Like, just because you have the R rating and you can drop the F word every 5 words or something like that, or you can show
Yeah.
boobs in your opening sequence, doesn't mean that you have to. You can disarm the audience on the way up to it and give them a little bit of sense of safety, like we're talking about right here, and then
Right.
boom, slam them with it and give them that shock value that it's like, oh crap, I forgot this was an R-rated movie. Like, that is a good moment. Like, that is a very good moment.
I mean, I suppose if I felt like that was intentional, then maybe, yeah, I could appreciate that. But I did not get that. I did not feel that intentionality in there. I felt like
I don't
that's
think
that's
we
one of those
even
moments
see
where, like you said,
blood outside of that farmstead. I don't think we even see blood until that moment.
yeah, because it's like you said, oh no, whoa, that's right, when he first meets the king and that guy tries to kill him.
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
so he whips around and slices him with a sword, and there's that little dinky cartoony slash on his chest that he dies from. I mean, that was PG-13 violence. That sets you up with going like, okay, yeah, we're gonna see some blood, but not a lot. And so, yeah, and 30 minutes later, a dude's head gets torn off. And so it's a little. So, like, guys, I mean, it kind of.
It's like 3/4 of the way to Tarantino tear off too.
Right, exactly, yeah. And so it's like, and at the time of watching it, I'm just kind of jarred into it, just like, whoa, 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 okay, the different movie now. Let's try and refocus on this. But now that what you telling me that no, okay, yeah, this was a thing that happened. It was a PG-13, and then they went and reshot for R-rated, and there was 2 directors involved. So now I'm thinking like, no, it wasn't intentional at all. It literally was just like, fuck it, let's rip the dude's head off, And so
I don't know. Like, apparently there is a long cut of the John McTiernan version of the 13th Warrior that is still out there, and one of the reviews that I caught, it's like, apparently they said like, you can find this, and I'm like, that ain't how that works. John McTiernan has that. Like, come on. Like,
yeah.
oh, if you put in the special code into YouTube, no. Yes, the original version exists in the studio's vault. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But I would like to see that movie. Not gonna lie. But I would like to see that the same as, what was the one that Peter Dinklage with Matthew Bright? What was that one called? It wasn't just called Little People, was it?
No, it was like God, what Twinkle Toes or Little Toes or something like that.
I wanted to say Little Toes as well, but I don't think it's right.
Yeah, I didn't look it up myself. You just told me about it, and so I don't remember entirely what it was.
Yeah, but apparently, like, I would like to see the original version of that movie. We talked about battling the Wendell, and a few died, and the heads are gone along with all of the dead that our Vikings had killed. And then the medical assistance from the out of nowhere love interest. That this movie did not need that.
No, yeah. I mean, I suppose he needed someone else to talk to besides that one blonde Viking guy, but
I don't think so.
But yeah. Well, I mean,
I was watching a buddy cop Viking movie, and it was awesome.
That would have been good, yeah. Buddy cop. Oh my God! Now there's a movie that we need. Is a buddy cop Viking Arab movie? Yeah.
This damn near was that.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, I kind of appreciated that there was more than one person he was talking to in the entire movie. But yeah, making it some sort of like kind of out of nowhere love interest romance angle, I think was kind of cheap because, yeah, that wasn't necessary. He could be talking to her because she's someone who will talk to him, and he has a very short list of people in his life who will do that right now.
Yeah, like they
So,
like turning her into a love interest, which she wasn't even a love interest. She like it was literally just we might die. Her character existed just so there was somebody that Ahmed could repeat the line that Bolvi gave to him. I swear
yeah,
to God, that is the whole reason for that character. Um, I mean, like her scenes were funny because uh, getting medical assistance and it's cow urine. She's like, cow urine,
right.
cow urine, boiled down. It's
Right.
like, I
Oh,
mean,
that makes it better.
yeah, great, great. I'm so happy that this is on my face. uh, building the defenses, and I love that moment where the one guy's like, "With me," and then he goes in, wham, wham. Now you do, and then just walked away. That character was so casual, like perfect. I mean, I really think like basically every character in this movie I felt was pretty much perfect. They
Yeah.
had just the right amount of screen time. None of them had too much. Um, barely any had too little either. Like I felt like it was matched up very, very well. The
No,
only
that's
one
true.
that
Yeah.
could have used a little more was the actual 13th warrior, the little boy. They didn't even mention him in the movie because it was like a little bit like, you brought a 14-year-old boy on this journey? Like, because you see the 12 warriors, but there was a boy that wasn't even announced in the tent, and he's in very few scenes, just kind of in the background.
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. What, like, there was the kid that brought the message, and then
Not
there
him.
was the kid from the homestead that you know, runs in, you know, I don't know, like, who.
He's just in some of the background scenes or he's just in some of the scenes as background, basically, just standing with
Yeah,
the
I have
Vikings.
no idea who you're talking about.
There's a little 14-year-old kid who is part of the Warriors. And yeah, he's so little part of the movie that
Does he
nobody even knows he's
survive
in
till
it.
the end?
He does. Well, no, okay.
Oh.
So they never allude to what happened to him. Like after a certain point in the movie, he's just not filmed anymore because they thought it would be too rough to have a kid get killed.
Oh my God.
Another reason I need to go read the book because I don't know how big a part that kid actually played in the story. So, no, there's another little one for you. Like this movie, there was a lot of drama involved with this movie and everything that
It
went with it.
sounds like,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
surprised I like this movie as much as I do, but I do.
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, like now that I hear what was involved in the making of it, I'm gonna tell you, like, up front, I was not that impressed by this flick. I don't understand why everyone kept telling me I had to see it for so many years. Um, but the more I'm hearing about like what happened in its production, I'm like, well, shit, this is a fucking work of art. Then, if it was able to be this good with this much fucking trouble, there's clearly the hand of Jesus came down and made this movie barely passable. Sounds like so.
Whatever it was, but that's the thing. Like for what this movie was, oddly, like I said, I've said it a few times, it has some of my favorite scenes.
Mm,
So what have you? Um, when he takes that giant sword and he keeps missing all the poles and he falls down into the dirt, finds that
right.
metal worker, and then he comes back with basically a falchion. And that line from I can't remember what the actor's name is like, when you die, can I give that to me daughter?
Right.
That,
That was a good line. Yeah.
I'm not even sure that that was actually part of the movie because how much everybody laughed in response to that seemed way too real.
Right. Yeah.
Like even the dude in the background, he's
Right.
really into laughing. I'm like, dude,
See, and that's another thing where that like I kept waiting for him to do something like epic. That's the thing, and I thought this because this all comes around to this prophecy where we have to have the foreigner, the non-Northman, be a part of the crew. And
Yeah.
so I kept thinking, okay, there's going to be something that only he, with his
Yeah.
Eastern culture and education, that
Yeah.
can solve this for them. And it never happened. He makes
Yes, it does.
he makes the sword, shows them how good it is, and then they never fucking use it.
Yes, he does.
By the end
and
of the
yes,
movie-
he does.
Okay, then I must have missed it because
His education is what saved the story. The Thundercliffs.
I mean, okay.
knowing
right,
what
right,
was
right.
knowing what was causing the Thundercliffs is the only reason that the Vikings survived and the Wendell were taken down.
But the only reason he knew that is because one of the other Northmen told him about it. He just
Doesn't
happened,
matter.
He just
Doesn't matter. He knew what caused the sound of thunder.
okay. And
Like,
yeah, he was the one who figured out the Bears thing too.
Yeah, it was his education. Yeah, his education about like the cave and the Thundercliffs, what causes that sound, everything like that. His education is what got them to actually take down the leader after the mother died. So
And,
he was the
that is
key. He was the key to victory.
fair, but I was expecting something more, because he shows him the horse, shows him the sword. There was one other, I can't remember what it was. There was one other thing that he showed him. And now I'm blanking on what it was, but there were like 3 things that he like brought from his culture, showed them. They were all impressed, and then it never came up again. And like that's what I kept waiting for. I kept waiting for some big like, it's like, oh, he taught him how to, use fucking gunpowder or something like that. Like something, that really like counts. But no, like it literally had nothing to do with him being an Easterner. It just had to do with the fact that he was just an educated dude who happened to be there. It could have been anybody. It could have been an Englishman who'd done it.
Maybe, but that's why I really enjoyed what this was, because the Vikings didn't really have a significant written language for passing on their stories and doing all of this. Having him there is basically saying, this is why we know the story.
Oh, okay. That also, yeah, that makes a little sense. I guess.
So
that.
that's where I kind of came in on it. Was his inclusion into the story was just how we found out about it.
Okay.
And that was where I was on board, because basically he was a journalist, like an embedded journalist.
Right. Okay. Okay, I can go along with that.
The engineering dispute is one of my that actually is my favorite scene of this movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You fling Earth around like a dog. Did you just call me a dog? No, I said you fling dirt like one. As carelessly as an animal. I'm an animal.
Because
You're not listening.
So
I'm deaf.
Yeah. So they think that the prince is trying to turn the king against them, and so they decide to school the prince by picking a fight with one of his dudes, and then like basically just rope-a-doping the dude's head right off, literally.
Pretty much, yeah.
And to basically just send the message to the prince: don't fuck with us because you do not know who we are. Period. And that.
Well, there
that's
was
the
that
end of
thing. So
conflict.
that guy was kind of acting a little bit as a spy for the prince, and then the prince and they were saying like the prince is poisoning the king's ear. So when you removed the spy, who was kind of the warrior that was working with the Vikings and all that, then they say now he has to fear what he doesn't know.
Right.
And that was was.
See, I assumed it was what he doesn't know, as far as like because during the whole fight he was acting like he was a worse fighter all the way up until the last second, right when they thought he had him. Then he pulls some judo shit and fucking takes the guy's head right off. And so I figured the lesson was the prince doesn't know how good we are. He doesn't know what we are. Doesn't know anything about us.
I was taking that as
we could appear to be a bunch of schmucks. We could be ninjas. He doesn't know.
I was taking that to like that big redheaded dude was like one of the warriors with them, may have gone with them, may have done all this stuff. So the
See, I didn't get any of
so
that.
the
Yeah.
prince would have gotten all of this information and been able to do whatever he wanted. But once that
Ah,
guy was dead, the prince had no access to information. So he was basically sitting at the same point as the king. He was only getting told what they wanted to tell him. No more
okay.
spy.
So yeah, no, I just figured that the big redhead guy was just, in the division between the king and the prince, the big redhead dude was on the prince's side, and they just decided that to take him out to just prove to the prince he ain't shit. That was
Maybe.
how I took it.
I like that's why I'm gonna go read I'm gonna buy the book. I'm gonna read the book pretty soon. Because it's a Michael Crichton book. I can knock a Michael Crichton book out in 2 days.
Oh,
Like
sure,
once,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
once I sit down for those, it's hard to put them down. Uh, this is what I was talking about. When Antonio or Ahmed says he's going to get killed, and Bolvi is possible, like that
Yeah.
moment, and then that lady comes in later on, like we're going to die. And Antonio is like, he's, and then they go get laid. That, I swear to God, if she was not a friend of the director or something, that her only purpose in this film was for that laugh. Like, that was it. Then we see, I think she starts talking about the fireworm, and then so this is what I was
Mm-hmm.
talking about, where they say a combination of words and all of this, and then he has to think about it, and then he responds with a dragon. Like, he had to key in on the words that they were using in describing it.
Right.
Then he would say dragon back, and then in their language, they would say dragon back, and then we were on the same page. That
Right.
was
Right.
what I was thinking was happening. Like I said, kind of hard to know. Anything?
Nope. Go on.
Scrambling into positions with sight of the fireworm. And then seeing that little girl running and then like towards it and then busting out and having the horse jump over the fence, which I guess there's your Chekhov's horse jump.
That's a payoff there, sure. And I did appreciate that. Yeah, it's like the Vikings that came with him, they saw it coming, and so while they're trying to open the gate for him, one of his buddies just grabs him and goes duck, so they can all duck their head while he jumps over them. I was like, all right, that's cool. Yeah,
I got it. A little bit of faith
I
in it.
appreciated that. Yeah.
Like when he comes back and he's like, it's not a dragon, it's cavalry. And then Storhoi turns out, I was like, I'd rather prefer a dragon.
Right.
Dude, every line that Storhoi says floored me. I swear to you, I don't know how this guy is not my favorite actor. I'm gonna
You
go
gotta
look
start
more
looking at
into
more
it.
of his stuff.
I'm going to, yeah. Uh, and I love that line is like where they keep calling Ahmed little brother. Because
Oh, right.
one,
Yeah, yeah.
you really don't know if Antonio Banderas is actually older than half of these guys or not because
Right.
he's Antonio Banderas. But I love that, like, let's go, little brother. It's beginning. I love that as soon because this was like where I was saying, like, when he has that sword, he has his moment. In this battle, he goes up and he kills the guy. Then he sees it's a man. It's a man. And he's like walking away, repeating, it's a man. And then he goes into a straight killing spree with that falchion.
Right. Yeah. Because that I thought that was an interesting scene because it's literally like, yeah, this is all very terrifying because we don't know what kind of creatures these are. But once he clues in, oh, these are just men wearing bearskins. It's a whole nother ball game. He's like, oh, I know how to kill men. So, you know.
Which the thing is, like, he says, I'm not a warrior. And then he goes and he's like, just basically walking and just taking everybody out that comes across him. It's like, okay,
Right.
Storhoi was right. Very soon you will be.
Right.
Apparently, that's all you
let's not
need is
forget,
exposure to Vikings.
He is also he's a nobleman. I mean, it's pretty well established that he's a wealthy nobleman from he may not be high enough class to not get his ass sent to the north, but he's clearly an educated man. And let's face it, sword play is one of the basics of nobleman training. So
Okay.
yeah, once he realized that he wasn't as in over his head as he thought he wasn't battling demons. Then it's like, oh, okay, remember my training. And boom, there we are.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
One thing that I really, like, something that I very, very much appreciated about this film and specifically Bolvi in particular, is that he is the only one in this entire movie that actually refers to Ahmed as Ahmed. It only happens once. Like,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
in this moment where like they're running up, and I love that where the one guy, like the redheaded Scottish guy, he's like, turn and fight them, like, and he's like, everybody's running away, and he's like chasing them, like, stop running, turn and fight, and then he runs right into Bolvi, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's like, now it's time to fight. Here's my dude, and then that's what happens. They stand, and everybody like kind of unites and comes together. Bolvi throws that pole to Ahmed, and he shouts his name, and he's like, Ahmed, and I'm like, dude, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for like giving the character his own name, showing him that respect, and just being the badass, tough warrior, intelligent, decent, looking to further his education. I mean, dude, the character Bolvi, which is based off the character Beowulf, is kind of a maximum awesome character.
Yeah.
Like, dude, follow that man to the gates of hell. Like, hell yeah. They lost four they lost 4 warriors, and this was another great scene. He won't drink for the taste of fermentation of grape nor wheat. And then Storhoi just starts laughing his ass off because it's made from honey.
Right, yeah. We found a loophole that both of our gods are into.
Yep. I thought that was awesome. And then like he takes it and he thinks about it for a second and he's like, yep.
Yeah.
I love
tomorrow we may die.
What a great moment. Like, oh, like, wait, so you're not allowed to drink alcohol? Or you're not allowed to drink alcohol made from these things? Like,
right.
That was a great
Because if you're going to be specific, then here you go. Yeah.
But then here's that moment that I like. It bothers me so much, but it's like, all right, whatever. It's that out of nowhere, just sup, girl, just comes out of nowhere.
See, I thought that was funny because like when they have that bit where he's like, it's made from honey, and he walks away, and Banderas watches him walk away, and goes, all right, takes a drink, and then turns, and the camera pans with his vision, and he sees her, and we see her at the same time, and it's like, whoa, how long have you been there? And
exactly.
That was my, like, you know, I had a laugh out loud moment on that one, and Banderas is just like, well, now I'm drinking, I might as well see what the chick's doing too, you know? So,
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did get a laugh out of me. And then, like I said, we go and we meet that, there was an old woman. She was old when my grandmother was young. And then we meet a woman who's in her like mid to late 50s. Like, for God's sakes, could you not have gone outside and found a homeless woman? You were in LA, I'm pretty sure. Well, no, you weren't in LA here, but
no, they were probably in Nordic country filming this. Since
they were British Columbia.
British Columbia? Oh wow, okay.
Dude, did that whole area not look like Seattle to you?
Dude, I don't know. It also kind of looked like Norway too.
Okay, but yeah, follow that line on the lines of latitude, okay? Yeah, pretty much it's pretty close, I would think.
But if half your cast is Nordic, then you probably filmed in Norway. That's usually how it goes. We don't import that many Nords.
I think that's mostly what we import.
Fair. All right.
I mean, I know you grew up where you grew up, but I grew up in North Dakota, and Minnesota.
Well, that's where they all settled. Yeah, I
was about to say, I mean, there's a reason that I grew up thinking that I'm very, very short, and then when I left that area of the country, I realized I'm really not. Like, when I went to other places and they were like, you're tall, and I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, you're like 6 inches taller than me, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm also 2 feet shorter than my last roommate when I left North Dakota. I'm not tall, I'm just not ridiculously short. Let's see. Yeah, so when they meet that old crazy lady, and her basic point is seek her in the earth and
Mm-hmm.
beware the horns of battle. She basically
Right.
just set that up, that whole scene, just for that. It was a throwaway scene. However, the performance from the crazy old lady was actually really enjoyable.
She wasn't bad. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The interesting choice to have her laying on her side for the entire thing, like
A
she's,
throwaway
in
scene,
the
but not a throwaway performance.
right. Yeah, it was interesting for sure. Um, and I was trying to figure out too because like it was a little bit after this. Like because like, like I said, you were telling me to watch out for what it was based off of, and my guess was Beowulf because of the names, but I wasn't sure because I'd never read Beowulf. It was about at this point in the movie as they're starting to make their way to the the Wendell's encampment
Mm-hmm.
that I'm starting to think, oh wait a second, is this actually the Seven Samurai? Because that's a very very Seven Samurai moment in this movie when they do that.
We're gonna have to cover Seven Samurai. You've mentioned that like 6 times on the channel. Like we're gonna have to go
Have
just
I?
yeah. You've mentioned it quite a few
Okay.
times, surprisingly. But
It's kind of a yeah. I mean, and
well, no,
it's
that
been kind of
is
remade. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Um,
mean, two major films are remakes of it. You've got the Magnificent Seven and Bug's Life. Both are remakes of the Seven Samurai. So
Tracking them is way too easy because they have absolutely no fear of them. And as we come up, I wish we could have got a closer look at those bear skulls because bear skulls are
mm,
really freaking cool looking. They just
yeah,
are.
they
But
are freaky and dope. Yes, that's true.
that is yes. I love this moment. Like, okay, I know you. They don't like. They're not worried about you tracking them and stuff like that. But don't you want to be like a little bit of a surprise to them? Because the way that Bolvi is like, where is that cave? The Earth. And then you have that guy that has like that Robert Redford meme moment that he's like,
Right.
yes. Which I just want to go through and I want to turn that into a meme and just battle the Robert Redford one. Every time I see somebody do that, I'm just gonna like meet it with that one. Um, but then Bulba turns back around. Is there a cave? Like really
Right.
loud, and is like, okay,
Right.
everybody in Norway just heard you. uh, the sneak attacks getting into the cave. What language do you think they were speaking?
That's a really good question. They kind of made sure that we didn't really pin down who this was supposed to be. They were covered entirely in body paint on top of everything else. We never get a good look at their faces. They basically when they pull the bear heads off them, we see them for like 2 frames, just long enough to clock that it's a human, but nothing more than that. So they
Yeah.
they really kind of I think they really wanted to kind of like non-specific these guys to say like no, these aren't Mongols, they're not other Nords, they're just kind of this whole like isolated anomaly tribe thing that only ever existed underground. So yeah,
Yep.
I don't maybe they might have been a made up language for this movie to that regard because they seem to be working really really hard to not identify who these people were.
And I think that was the right call.
Yeah,
I
I'd
think I
agree.
think it was a
I
good call
totally
keeping
agree.
that a mystery.
Yeah.
Uh, having to ditch the armor and then I was it the Blackfish from Game of Thrones that was the one who wouldn't. Yes, it was. It was. Uh,
Yeah, that was pretty funny. They paid that one off like immediately. Like he's telling them, like they're all taking their armor off because it makes too much noise. The one guy refuses to take his armor off, and literally 10 seconds later, he clanks his armor against a rock and almost gets him discovered. And he's got to sit there and like go, "Sorry, guys," silently. Like, yeah, that's why you follow orders, bitch. Like,
but it was I appreciated that because once I realized what was going on, I thought it was just so they could sneak silently. None of the cave people wore metal at all. So that sound, if something would clank on that in any way, none of their
yeah,
weapons, none of their armor, none of their clothing, none of them had any metal. So that would have been a solid identifier that if they heard a metal
yeah.
clang, it was an enemy.
There's a dead giveaway. Yeah.
I didn't key
Yep.
in on that the first few times I watched this movie when I was younger, but I caught that this time. And I appreciated that that was never mentioned because I'm glad that I got to key in on something. Like
Mhm.
when it's thrown in your face, you don't really get to like whatever. When you key in on it, it's like, hey, I used to be really dumb. Nice.
Welcome to my life.
This was a great line for so many, basically everybody. If you are a flat earther, you're an idiot. But this line is for you. And if you're not a
Right.
flat earther, it's just funny as shit. But how deep in the earth are we? Deep enough to fall out the bottom.
Yep.
That was I was like, oh god damn it. They did think the earth was flat. Oh, perfect. That is a joke that was so grounded in reality. I loved it to pieces. I couldn't get enough
Yep.
of this. The Room of Bones looked great.
That was really cool. Yeah. And interestingly, that's the interesting thing is that it kind of like it was the first clue in as to their motivation because it's like we're trying to figure out like why do they keep taking the heads and now we found the heads. All of them right here
They've been
at the
eating
feet.
them.
Yeah, they're all right here at the feet of the giant statue version of tiny statue we've seen them carrying around and drop everywhere. And so
Which I did like that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like I really
Yeah,
did
that was
like that. The representation of like the what would you call that? An idol?
Oh yeah, I guess
That's
that
what
would be
you
an idol. Technically, that would be an idol. Yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I couldn't find the word. I'm still not totally satisfied with idol either, but
Well, I think what threw me is that I have seen that specific idol before. I just could not remember where. Like that was a specific shape that specific idol was something that has been dug up in the past. I just could not remember what it was associated to.
were you able to find?
Nope, didn't look
Oh,
it up.
okay.
Never got around to it. Yeah.
Then scaling the waterfall and basically swimming right up to finding the mother's guards. And that was great where like they just start attacking the guards and they're like, Bolvi, go, you got this. Like, we'll cover your
Yeah.
back. Go do your thing. I appreciate the trust for the warrior, like between the warriors in that. That was I really liked that. The fight with the oh no. Going
Oh, now, see,
into that room and then seeing
yeah,
all the heads hanging from like the roots or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, this
You
wasn't
got,
PG-13.
you got No, yeah, you got the roots coming from who knows what kind of plants or trees up top, coming down through the rocks. You've got all the heads hanging on them of the recently killed, including first off, we recognize our friend who we watched get beheaded a few scenes back.
Olga,
we
yeah.
see his head. Yeah, we see his head hanging right there, front and center. It's a very strange fruit moment, as the song goes. So creepy as hell. You've got all these freshly killed heads on there. At this moment, I genuinely thought, like with all of this, I thought that there was going to be a bear in there. I thought there was going to be an actual bear. Like that was what was going on here, was that these people worship a bear and all these heads are them feeding their pet idol bear that they're keeping down in the bottom of the thing. I literally thought he was going to walk in there and there would be an actual fucking grizzly bear he'd have to fight. I was shocked when it was a 90-pound girl.
I can't tell you if I would have liked that or hated that. I honestly don't know. Like, I cannot tell you how that would have landed on me.
Mm.
But the original version and the book, that is not a young woman. That is an old woman. And the original, and when it was originally shot, apparently it was shot with the old woman. And that's what John McTiernan was faithful to the book. I'm correct here. If I'm remembering what I read. But when the test screenings hated it, Crichton brought in somebody that he wanted younger and more viral, but then it became kind of a fight over whether it should be sexualized or something like that. And it's like, oh, no, just warrior.
Right.
So I'm glad that it
Right,
was
yeah.
not sexualized in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think I also would have enjoyed it being a very old woman, because that would have kind of it would have shown a little bit different thing, because having it just be a bunch of young people is like, how did this young girl get all of these dudes to just all of a sudden do it?
Yeah.
Because like this, because how young she is, this hasn't been going on that long. If it had been an
Right. Yeah.
old woman, that would have something that's like, okay, these guys have been doing this for a very long time, and then just kind of scavenging until they had a big enough army to really unleash.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I don't know. Having not seen it, it's hard to say, but I would imagine like part of the issue would have been if it had been an old woman who technically wasn't like able to fight back, then it becomes less of a battle with the big
And
bad,
then an execution.
to and be an execution of an elderly woman. Yeah, and so that probably probably wasn't the hero moment anyone was hoping for, and probably took it down a notch for them. And
I
so
actually think that was one of the points. What you just said was one of the points that I read that they were talking about. So,
okay,
man, way to nail it on the head with that one. After killing the mother, their queen, and then getting poisoned, they head deeper into the earth to escape the oncoming horde. The way the Blackfish, and I'm just gonna call him the Blackfish because that's what everybody knows him as, uh, just the way that he decides to sit back and then fight and die, and
right.
how much joy is in his eyes when he says today was a good day. Was there a performance in this movie that fell flat? Because I can't find one.
I mean, none that come to mind.
Maybe the
None that made
Queen.
me maybe, and that's a big maybe. That's the thing. It's like none. There were no.
She didn't have
performances that made me
enough.
go
She didn't like her performance wasn't enough to even say whether it fell flat or not.
right. Yeah. I mean, that's the,
Yeah.
there was no point in this movie where I just kind of went like, you could have done better. Like so, like everyone brought it at least to what was needed for the scene for sure. Including, I thought the king, our Beowulf, I thought he was weirdly like for a movie that was supposed to be based on Beowulf. I thought that he was surprisingly a supporting character, more of a supporting character in this, and not even like the main supporting character.
Well, that's why I say
But
like
that
this.
did
This movie is kind of like more of an embedded journalist, and like
right.
who the hero of the story is doesn't matter because he's not the hero of our story.
Right, and I think that's kind of what was interesting because that it was at that point, like that we mentioned before, where they're fighting off the horde and telling him go ahead and go do the job, and he goes and he kills the mother and gets poisoned, and then we have everything that comes after that while he's basically fighting the end of the war on his deathbed. That's when it kind of all his role kind of comes clear in this, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I get where he sits in this whole thing. So I guess it was kind of interesting that they didn't try to overblow him up to that point when it's basically like that's kind of the point of the story is seeing him become the hero, you know,
Right.
throughout the course of this. He isn't the hero right away, you know.
Volvi?
But again, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I
I
don't
would say,
remember
like-
any of the Nordic names. They all just went right out of my head because I can't pronounce them. I don't know what they mean.
Okay, that is
So-
fair. I can give you that. Okay. No, I can see where you're coming from with all that. This is the moment where the stream disappears under the rocks, and they start saying, "We'll fight 2 by 2, and we'll give the others a chance to rest, and we'll just fight till we die."
Which,
This
my
is
God,
where- go ahead.
they are in a hell of a bottleneck there. They could have 300 that thing for like days. I mean, come on, that was not that hopeless of a situation. Like and like I said, like we get to the point where they dive under, and like I said, like that's all the anxieties. Like if it were me in that situation, I'd be like, no, I'm gonna take my chances. I'm gonna stay here and try to clog this hole with bodies instead. I think my odds are better here.
You know what? You got a good point, because it wouldn't take long for that to have been bottlenecked to a point where they couldn't do anything. So,
Exactly. Yes.
You know, that does make a good point. However, that starts the clock.
That is also a good point. Yes.
The stream disappears and they go for that swim. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier on in the episode, where Storhoi and Banderas, they are the last two to jump in the water. Storhoi says to Banderas, if they don't follow us, we know it's too far to swim. And that is almost his final words of his life. That is crazy to me, because him and Banderas, they go down and they're the last ones to go through. Storhoi got lost behind, and he wound up hitting a wall in that like cave system that they kind of created. And Banderas dove back into the water and then got Storhoi and pulled him out to the surface. And you can look up the interview, like Banderas talking about, like he pulled him out of the water. His like all the color was faded from him and everything. Like he thought he was gonna die. Like, and then the next 3 days, Storhoi was on set but recovering.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, like I said, like there's a section of one of the Tomb Raider video games where you have to swim through an underwater, a fully flooded underwater cave. And man, that was a fucking video game where if you die, you come back and try again. But even that, I was white knuckling it the whole time, because that is all the anxieties right there. That's
good when a game can get you that involved. That's a really good game.
Yeah.
I really that.
No, I've got some severe issues with Square Enix and how they do their interfaces, but I got to admit the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy was fucking good.
Not a clue. So Bolvi, they make it out. So they make it out from the water. They head back to the village. They report that the mother is dead, but Bolvi is dying from that poison. They say he won't make it through the night. And I thought this was a very good line. A man might be thought wealthy if someone were to draw the stories of his deeds so that they may be remembered. And that is the whole damn point of this movie. Ahmed is writing the story of Beowulf.
Right.
That is essentially what this... Why do I keep saying essentially? Why do I keep doing that? Essentially, that is exactly what this story is. It is just the embedded journalist. And those are some of my favorite movies, so I think that's why I like this one.
Okay.
Like, we're not trying to whoop up the bravery and all this stuff of, like, no, this is a dude literally watching all this and going, nice.
These guys are into some weird shit, but I like them. You know, they're fun.
That's the thing. Like, and then as he's coming out, Storhoi tells him that he needs to go get some rest. He's like, I'm not tired. He's like, it doesn't really matter because we have another fight tonight. And this is that point where the mist seems just straight magical. No rain, no nothing, middle of the day, and all of a sudden here comes a mist. And
see, but well, that's the thing, is like that I was kind of expecting it to be kind of like, yeah, they're gonna attack tonight, mist or no mist, because you just killed their mother. They're gonna throw caution to the wind and come at your ass for this. And so it would like, and they could have had that conversation, you know, where you said like, they're going to attack tonight, even if there's no mist. Yeah. Even if there's no mist, we just really pissed them off. We're going to use this to our advantage because they're going to come at us angry now. So we're going to use their anger against them. That's how we do good war. But no, instead the mist magically comes in right when these guys are going to want to come get their revenge. I
would have agreed with you. Well, here's here's the thing. Like, that's where it kind of turns into a little bit more of a supernatural story, where it's not they take advantage of the mist. It more seems like they caused the mist. And that's where...
I see what you're saying. And I see that. And that is also that I don't like that either.
Yeah, that does trash the story a little bit. And that's why, like, yeah, I agree. What you said would have been the right way to go.
Yeah, because if the point of the story is to say that Beowulf is actually the oral history legend of this actual thing that this guy documented, and here's what actually happened. There wasn't really a fire serpent. That's just what the legends say. It was actually a long trail of assholes with torches. Very clever. I like that. Let's roll with that. But if you're going to throw actual sorcery of, and they could control the mist. But come on.
So this is what sucks about the fact that you never read Beowulf. You
Mm-hmm.
don't it's a little bit tougher. So when I said that, like Beowulf and Grendel, they go into that battle where they go underwater and into the earth. This
Oh, okay.
movie's
Oh,
final act basically went through a good depiction of what that actually could have represented. Of
okay.
Beowulf and Grendel actually battling in the earth and then going into the water and all of this stuff, like, and having emerged like that. This felt like it was an outstanding representation of what that poem could have been.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And the poem isn't that long. Maybe like check it out. Um, then they're back at the village and they, like I said, they come for the attack and they're ready. Beowulf, they all think that he's about dead and all that. They start pumping up.
Mm-hmm.
Ahmed gives a prayer in very traditional Muslim style. I don't know if they speak like that and actually pray out loud. I have no idea. I don't remember any of that. But actually getting down to the ground, forehead to the dirt, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, that I like that. Then Olvi coming out from the castle, whatever, and just giving the Viking prayer. Like, lo there I behold my father.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yep.
dude, that scene gives me goosebumps. And I
Huh.
love how, like, as it's dwindling down to the very end, they cut, like, you hear four voices, then you hear three voices, then you only hear one voice. Because if you're gonna end something like that, Antonio Banderas' voice saying forever was the right call.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
that was great. I really love that. Having
That was
all
all right.
music, all sound, everything removed from that moment, and just Antonio saying forever. That was a
Hmm.
great moment. Personally, I thought that was an outstanding moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
It didn't hit me that hard, but I will not poke holes in your enjoyment of it because it was a good scene. Yes.
we all different people. Different people got different
Mm-hmm.
things.
Yep.
Uh, I this actually was a very, like, when I was younger, I didn't like it. Now that I'm older and I'm a little more educated in this arena, I like this even more. When
Hmm.
he hit that leader with his broadsword and there was no blood, there was no cut, there was no nothing, I hated that when I was younger. That's real. Broadswords are not sharp. Broadswords are
Hmm.
meant to damage people through armor. They're like meant to be hit by a sledgehammer that has been swung ridiculously hard. And if you have a sharp edge and you're hitting somebody with armor, it's going to get dull very quickly.
Okay.
So broadswords aren't even meant to be meant to be sharp. They're meant to
Uh,
tank you, and then, like, exactly how the leader was killed at the end. That is how broadswords are meant to be used.
okay. Okay. See,
So
I
the
never knew that.
accuracy of that
That
was
makes sense.
great. I loved that. I thought the accuracy of that was absolutely outstanding. Um, Basically dying with his victory and sitting down in the external throne for the king.
Right.
I thought
Yeah.
that was I thought that was a perfect shot.
That was a good way to go. Yeah. I
But
like
that
that. Yeah.
actor in particular, he said the brutal conditions of filming at that time of year in British Columbia was one of the, like, how drained they all were, how, like, the physical and mental frustration that they all went through. They,
Oh
like,
yeah.
it was like he was like it was torturous, but you could see it in the characters,
Hmm.
and that is what made it so much better.
That's one of those things that I've always felt for anyone doing any period piece, would like be it like Game of Thrones especially, but like any of these like medieval style movies, and especially the war ones where like everything is done in the fucking mud, you know? Like I haven't, you know, lived in that difficult of a life, but I do have a family that raises trees in Oregon, so I know what it's like to try to walk through mud. And these poor motherfuckers are trying to do stage fighting in the mud. Oh,
And with
no
swords and
way.
sandals, yep.
In swords and sandals, and try not to ram your face into the camera because You probably, because it'll break your face and then you'll have to pay for the camera. Like, oh my God, no. Like like that's one of the reasons why I like some of I tend to get taken out of like I like the medieval stuff. I do enjoy medieval movies, but more often than not, I get taken out of them because I all of a sudden can't stop thinking about these poor bastards trying to shoot this in that
That puts me
cold
that.
mud, man.
Oh, okay. See, you go with the shooting aspect. I go with when I see that, I like remember the feel of the mud between my toes, and I like remember the feel of the extreme cold in North Dakota. Like
Mm.
that pulls me into it even more
So, and that
because
would make
because
sense.
I
That,
have the memory of because just like you were saying, like the memory of feeling what it's like to go through the mud and all that stuff. I can
mhm.
remember that, so I know exactly what that actor was feeling in that moment, and it pulls me in.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can see I can see how that can go different ways. That very ending of this movie, the send off and the gratitude shown to one another, the beautiful tolerance and inclusion that like the Vikings showed to the Arab and
Right.
the way
Yeah.
that it was returned. I never got tired of that. Like when he said, like,
I
where you're
mean,
from, one God may be enough, but here we need many. I will pray to them all for you. Please do not be offended. And his response is,
mhm.
I'll be grateful or I'll be in your debt. Like, just because it's not your way of doing things, you ain't got to chop down somebody else for doing something that they consider to be a kind thing when it doesn't affect you in any way. My prime example is yeah, we slam Christians and Christianity and stuff like that on the channel a decent amount. However, if somebody is like says they're going to pray for me and stuff like that for my health and everything like that, I'm not going to look at them and scoff. I'm still going to be thankful because that is still somebody who is wishing me well in their version of it. Like, so people who
You
kind
know
of
what?
knock Christians just for being Christians, that to me, I got a little fuck you for people who are like that. When you knock a Christian for being a dickbag about it,
Right.
yes.
It does
Yeah,
depend on
no,
the
all day
context.
long.
I will
Yeah.
tell you. Yeah. And yeah, and also, I mean, that's the thing is like, and granted, I wasn't there. I can't say for sure. But that's the thing is like to a certain degree there was this sort of like vibe like where you that separation was fine where it was like okay yeah we're Northmen, these are our gods, we're sure we're right, you know, and but even if it's like the Arabs and the English they all have their gods, there was never any like and I guess it kind of depends, you know, again I wasn't there, we're talking like 600 years ago, but from the you know the way some of these
I don't think
histories
it
are
was actually
depicted there.
like that. I think they
Right.
all were like, no, my gods are right, just like everybody else, like every religion on the planet. I just like this representation of it.
Yeah, but also this it kind of was. I mean, when it comes to like you know trying to generally wipe out another religion or push your religion on others, that kind of started with the Crusades. So
I don't think so. Like,
no,
well, I mean, when was the Crusades? 1095 until, or it went from 1095 until 1291.
all
So,
right.
final thoughts on 13th Warrior. Doc, why don't you go ahead?
Final thoughts. I mean, it was okay. Like I said, people have been telling me for years that I should see this, and I kind of don't understand why now that I've seen it. It wasn't bad. Like I said, now that I've heard some of the stories of how nightmarish the production was, I am surprised it was as good as it is. I wouldn't call this a must see. I'm kind of I'm a little bit flabbergasted why so many people told me I had to see it because I don't see it. It was okay. Um, couldn't find anything like ruinous about it. I don't get why the critics hated it so much. Apparently, but yeah, no, this was an okay flick. Not a must see. If you know if you like Antonio Banderas, this is definitely you know his film. So
It's a fun one
yeah,
for Antonio, sure. I'm not
yeah,
going to call this a must see either. If you're a Michael Crichton fan, this is definitely one for you because this is Michael Crichton. This is not Steven Spielberg doing Michael Crichton's or a version of Michael Crichton's work or anything like that. This is Michael Crichton. This is
Hmm.
not Timeline where a director came through and completely butchered his work. This is Michael Crichton. And Michael Crichton directed parts of this film. So when I say this is Michael Crichton, if you are a fan of Crichton, check it out. But I
Hmm.
don't feel like I can call it a must see, even though the Viking representation I feel is probably some of the best that I've ever seen.
Hmm. Okay.
This is before Vikings, and when you watch Vikings, they don't even do it like this. They're all like
No, it's
in
true.
Vikings, they're all wearing the same fucking armor, like they all got it from a store. The 13th Warrior, all the Vikings, they're wearing armor and using weaponry from all over the Eastern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Like that is something that I really appreciated. Um, a modern take on what could have been the telling of Beowulf. I thought that was a very clever thing, but just I'm right there with you. This is not a must see.
Hmm.
It is one of my favorites. It is in my top 20, and I don't have to justify that in any fucking way. It's delightful as
No,
shit.
no, I
Like
wouldn't say
there's
so.
no, it is like the acting never misses. Every line I feel was delivered well with the proper intention that it was meant for.
Hmm.
Seeing a collaboration of two directors who were not collaborating and actually creating a film that is not so disjointed that if you don't know that, you would never know.
Yeah, that's kind of
Like,
impressive. I gotta
I
say,
would say that is impressive.
I'd say the editor is the real hero of this film.
Maybe, maybe. But I do know Michael Crichton, like, they were not satisfied with John McTiernan's version. So they even brought in a new composer for this film.
Oh
Like,
wow.
no, when I like because nowadays when you go through like when you hear something has reshoots, it never works.
No,
Never
it's never good
works.
news. No.
No, it's not. It has never been a good thing. Just I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I just love period pieces that present themselves in a way as though they could have been real. I like that. That I
Sure.
like.
Yeah.
Like, this is a legend. It's a myth. We all know it. It's completely fantastical and all this. But what if? Like, the guy who was talking to the burning bush in the desert. What if he just walked across a bush that was on fire and it just happened to be a crazy dude? All the people
he
in,
had he had just been wandering the desert for 40 days. He might be a little bit off his rocker for sure. Yeah.
what about, like in Roman times where people were talking about they were running down the streets with their hands on fire? Sure, this wasn't written by a guy who needed to be wearing glasses and just saw a bunch of people running with torches?
Right. Yeah.
Like, there are things like that that just kind of crack me up. And when you have an undereducated uh, hill person seeing like a battle like this and stuff like that, and they see the fireworm coming through, and
Hmm.
they don't stick around to find out that it's cavalry, they hit the boat and they head to England. Like,
Right. Yeah.
no, like you can see how stuff like that could have actually been a not a true story, but some version of a true story. And that is what
Right.
the 13th Warrior is for me. And I always enjoy movies like that. So those are my final thoughts. Not a must see, but I do recommend it.
Okay. Yep. All right.
All right, and we're
That's not
back.
me being cheesy. That is an actual line from a song.
I'll take it.
All right.
I like cheese either. Like that's fine by me. All right, and we're back with Sneakers for part 2 of this week's episode. Written and directed by Phil Alden Robinson, also written by Lawrence Lasker and Walter F. Parks. Starring, and oh my god,
All right.
Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Sidney Poitier, Ben Kingsley, Mary McDonnell, River Phoenix, and David Straithairn, with Donal Logue, Time Winters, George Hearn, and Earl Jones. Which,
James fucking Earl Jones. Yep. Kind of
yeah,
pops in there almost as a cameo, not quite a cameo, a little bit more than a cameo, but man, he
I'll
just
pretty
brings it
much
when he
say it's
shows
a
up.
cameo.
Yeah, okay.
Like, yeah, but and in that
Back
cameo
up.
is actually my favorite moment of the entire film.
It is, yeah, I can see that, yes. But back it up real quick though. Did you say Donal Logue is in this?
Yes, he is.
How did I not know that? I've seen this movie like 4 times and I did not spot him at all. I love that dude. How did I not spot?
The second I saw him, I was like, wait a minute, isn't that? And I paused it and I backed it up and I called Kelly over. I was like, hey, that's the naughty vampire god from Blade. Because we just watched it early, like we watched Blade earlier this week.
Okay.
So I was like,
so who did he play?
he was the professor.
No.
Yeah.
See, I knew he was familiar, but for this whole time I thought he was like fucking what's his name from what is it? Weird Science. I thought he was the dude from Weird Science the whole time.
Oh, I could see that. No, I think this was Donal Logue without a beard.
Wow.
Not a common sight.
No, I am ashamed of myself for not catching that myself. Wow. Okay. Go Mr. Logue. All right.
So you'll be watching this again to go see that scene, I'm sure.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. No, that's.
Well, I know, but it's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to actually look at it and go, "Damn, he's young."
Yeah.
Like it was a trip, man.
He's a weird little preppy baby in this one. Yeah.
It really was, and I loved it.
Without the beard, that hair looks like a wig. But now that I know it's Donal Logue, I'm like, oh no, that's actually his hair. Oh my god.
Pantene Pro V commercial ready, man. He had it. All right. So, opening on sneakers, what I really enjoyed, like, it took me a moment to realize that they were all anagrams as they were going through, and I thought that was a really good way to open the film, especially with what that led to.
Right. Yes. Some of those anagrams are pretty clever too. I should have written them down. I remember chuckling to each one as they went by.
Thought
but
about
I should have
it
written them
too,
down.
but then when I realized the cast list for this movie, I was like, I'm gonna have to be a little bit spare with my notes because this can go for a long time. When you got a cast like this, they throw everything into it.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I mean, at least they didn't do the anagrams through the entire opening credits. They did it for the production company, the director, and for Robert Redford, and then they stopped. Thank God.
No, they did it for Sidney Poitier.
Did they do it for Poitier? No, they just because then after that it was they were basically doing the same anagram effect, but it wasn't anagrammed. It was just they were just doing each actor's name one at a time with the letters disappearing and rearranging into each one. The last time they did an actual anagram before showing the name was just Robert Redford, and then after that they were just showing everybody's names.
Oh, okay.
We don't have enough time for you to go back and check.
I know, that's what I'm really struggling with not doing. We open on December 1969 with Joe Marr as a young Cosmo and Gary Hirschberger as a young bishop, pulling a full Robin Hood moment, stealing from the rich and giving to those in need. Which, have you watched the new season of The Boys?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Okay. Basically, the opening scene is that moment in season 4, episode 6, where Huey is like stealing all the money from Tech Knight and giving it to Black Lives Matter and all that. Right. They're stealing money from, I think it was Reagan, and giving it to the Black Panther Party. Or Nixon and giving it to the Black Panther Party. Like,
because
That was
these are a
wild
pair
to
of
see when I just
these are
saw The Boys so recently.
yep. Oh, and that's a yeah, and it's a it. I would like to say that every instance you've seen that in TV and movies since started with sneakers. They're all an homage to that, but it's kind of one of those given moment thing. It's like as soon the day that banking became computerized, we all knew that that was how it was going to go down. And
Okay.
that's basically it's the 60s, and these computer technology is basically a brand new thing, and what we have here is a pair of brash college students who have learned how to hack and are just doing it. They're going into the banking system, and they are stealing money from Richard Nixon and from the Republican Party, anybody that they don't like, and they are giving the money away to charities and oh, that's right. Yeah, no, it was they took Nixon's money and they were going to give it to the United Negro College Fund. Or
And the
no,
Black Panther
no, that
Party.
can't. And the
No,
Black
or
Panther
no,
Party.
not
Yeah.
party, but it's Black Panthers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The Black. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
that
yeah,
was.
not just taking money from rich white guys and giving it to poor people. They were taking it from rich conservatives and giving it to the leftists they hated the most. It was straight up not. It was not just a Robin Hood moment. It is a spit in your face moment. It was great.
Oh, it is. And just talk about getting lucky. Cosmo gets busted as Marty's out for pizza. And, like, as he's getting arrested, he's just screaming Marty's name. And I'm like, dude, don't scream his name. Talk about a bad partner. Like, you
Well,
gotta,
I mean, that's
you
the
gotta,
interest-
like, you go in on a heist like that, or any kind of crime, so like that,
Mhm.
you kind of work it out. Yeah, don't give me up. That way.
Yeah, and the only reason he could scream his name is because Martin is basically come around the back to try to warn him by yelling through the window, but he's too late. They got him already, and so that's he's got to go on the run. But yeah, I think that's the interesting thing. A little bit of a forward spoiler here is how, in some ways, these guys are inept. This is not Ocean's 11. We're watching a movie about break-in artists, but that is like they are a ragtag band of misfits. These guys are bad at lying. They are bad at everything except whatever their one job in the team is. They kind of suck at everything else.
You know what's funny is the filmmakers actually refer to this as Ocean's 11 for nerds.
See, that's really, really bad because this was like a decade before Ocean's 11.
No, do Ocean's 11's a remake.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah. No, so
Right,
they were saying
okay.
like this is like the Ocean's, like the original Ocean's 11 for nerds.
Right. Okay.
No, you
And that
can't. You
makes
can't
sense.
do. You can't do the Clooney Pit one with. No. No, that doesn't
But
work.
that was what I was thinking. But that's what I was thinking of when I was thinking of whenever we see these kind of heist movies, they're usually all a bunch of like, not only are they good heistmen, but they're also like totally cool con men on top of everything else. These guys are not con men. Like they are the opposite of con men. Like they
No,
give
they're
away
all
the game
wildly
so
honest.
often. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that aspect. But then we cut
Yeah.
to present day 1992 with Poitier, Aykroyd, Straithairn, and Redford all in a surveillance van. Now, I think this is probably where Straithairn's career on basically this is the character that he kind of not blind, but like the CIA character and everything like that, and the Jason Bourne
Right.
films where he really a lot of people kind of keyed into him
The
for
guy,
the first time.
right? The guy at the desk, as they say in the
Yeah.
Spider-Man movies. Like he nails the guy at the desk role in all these movies he's in.
The
And
guy in the
I
chair,
think this was
yeah.
where the guy in the chair. Thank you. Yes, the guy in the chair.
I knew there was something
has
about
been-
that I was like, wait a minute, that's right. No, it's
Right.
not.
Right, yeah. But yeah, no, he nails the guy in the chair role, and yeah, I think this was his first one, and so yeah, I think you're right there.
I think he did a great job. I mean, well, obviously everybody else thought he did a great job too. Like that's what he's been
'Cause that's
so
all-
many times since.
Right, yeah.
And it's weird to see how well he plays not a dink because he was such a lovable dude in this, and I am not used to seeing him play lovable characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would like
He's
to see,
usually
like,
very
yeah.
like government kill 'em all type characters. Yeah.
And okay, we've talked about like conspiracy theorists and stuff like that on the channel. Aykroyd's hyper conspiracy theory, the
Oh
CIA caused
yes.
earthquakes and cattle mutilations are up, and I
And I
love
and I
how Sidney
love
like
that
Poitier's
that
just hates
dynamic,
it.
yeah, because Sidney Poitier's character is an ex CIA agent, and so you've got Dan Aykroyd's character who's a conspiracy nut, just constantly going like, "Oh yeah, you and I both know that you guys made that earthquake happen." And he's like, "No, we didn't, you freak." And it's a
Yeah,
great dynamic between these two.
it was phenomenal. I absolutely with you on that. River Phoenix,
It
the
took me a
cat
while.
burglar. Go ahead.
Sorry, it took me a while. It was years later that I realized that there was a reason why Dan Aykroyd's character's name is Mother. That is a conspiracy theory reference. Among the
What?
conspiracy theor- Among the conspiracy theorists, it is believed that a lot of these CIA conspiracies were headed up by a like high level agent whose code name was Mother, because he was the mother of all these projects. And that's what Aykroyd's character has named himself after. He calls himself Mother after that mythical CIA agent.
I never would have caught that. I never would have caught that.
It took me 20 years to catch it.
River Phoenix, the cat burglar. And I'm so okay. What may have been my biggest laugh in the movie, if it weren't for the how it ended, would have been
Mhm.
Redford completely biffing it as he's going over the counter.
Right. It looked like an outtake that they put in, that they kept in, but yeah, they covered it in the next scene with him standing up and going, "Oh, we're getting too old for this." Yeah, it would have been better if they just left it alone. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was incredible. I was laughing way too hard about that. And we get Buddy Elfman as the security guard, and this is his theatrical debut, and he has had a career since.
Oh
Like, go
yeah.
check his IMDb out. I am sure he has popped up in one of your favorite shows. Well, yeah,
Okay.
you're a Twin Peaks guy, aren't you?
No, no.
Oh,
I watched like I think I watched the first episode of Twin Peaks and that's it.
oh, okay. Well, he's in Twin Peaks, the show and the movie,
Okay.
which I haven't checked out either, so I'm not sure like that's for. Uh, saying how much do you want when they get to the computer system and everything like that, they don't answer. I was waiting to be like 1 penny or a buck or something like, but they didn't even answer, which gave me the impression that maybe they actually stole a huge sum of money and then just gave them back something, because I was like, because why not give us the amount?
They did when they closed the account. So they break in, they get to the computers, they edit an account, and he says, "How much do you want?" They immediately
Oh
cut to him
shit!
withdrawing
Yes,
the
that
cash.
is
She's counting it out. 90, 80,000, 90,000, $100,000. That was the answer to
right.
the question. He just put it, he took a zeroed out account, added 100 grand, and then came in the next day and said, "I'd like to close my account," which I'm sorry,
My
like of
brain did
all of
not let
these,
that
yeah,
connect.
of all of these security issues that he could have had in his report, the first thing on that report is, "I went to your front desk and said I would like to close my account of exactly $100,000, and your teller did not press a button or call a manager or anything like that. She just went and got the cashing of what bank account on planet Earth has an exact $0 amount in it? I ask you, how is that not the first fucking red flag?"
That's a pretty big red flag. That there is that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling really dumb for for how much I missed
But
that.
but that is the point of the movie. That is the point of this movie.
Yeah. Completing the burglary and getting paid next to nil. That
Yeah.
clerk who wrote that check, dude.
We like, do we see? I forget. Do we see how much the check is for?
Nope. They don't.
One
They don't
second.
even. Yeah, they don't tell us.
Okay, yeah, we just know it's not much because he says it's a living, and the clerk that typed the check out looks at it before handing it to him and goes, "Not much of a living," you know. So we know they're not
Yeah.
getting paid much. We don't
Which
know exactly what
screw
it is.
you, lady. Don't ever, ever. Oh my god.
that is pretty fucked up to do.
That is about the most unprofessional thing. Now, apparently, the filmmakers, like when they found out about the concept of sneakers, because that's what they're called in real life. Like they have a few different names and stuff like that. And I was watching the filmmakers
Mhm.
discuss it. But when he found out about sneakers, that like, sure, this is the moment of the film that I thought sneakers was gonna mean something different.
Mm.
Because as they're like back at the office and the NSA comes in and we get to meet Buddy and Dick. Oh wait, no, his name's not Dick. I just called him. Oh no, his name is Dick. Sorry.
Right, yeah.
Uh, so we meet Buddy and Dick, and when they're coming in, he asks River. He's like, shoes? And the guy goes, expensive. So I thought that at
Right.
some point later in the film, he was gonna ask about somebody's shoes, and he was gonna be like sneakers, and then it was gonna be like, well, what is he doing? Like somebody who can't afford nice shoes. Like I was so wrong about that. It's kind of embarrassing because
I
again,
can see that though. Yeah.
yeah, no, I I went into this looking for way more, and it was just giving it right to me, and I'm not used to that when it like. I think it's because I just came off the heels of The Illusionist and The Prestige.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I was like, wait, we haven't aired that episode yet. So, but but yeah, you were looking for the angle that wasn't there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, hands him like during this meeting with the supposed NSA, and we find out later that these are former NSA agents. He hands him a wanted poster with his real name. Now, whenever you have a character that says "We're the good guys," that's way too hard of a cliche to tell the audience that that is not the good guy. That is
Yep.
about as obvious as a character eating an apple. We know that's the bad
But the
guy.
but you know what the funny thing is that was also very indicative of government agents at that time. Whenever we watched, like in the 80s and 90s, a lot of times when reporters are asking like the press secretary or the defense secretary, it's like, you're saying that we're doing this and this and this. How can we justify this? And their answers usually were some version of like, well, we're the good guys, so it's okay. So
Justification, yeah. Are
yeah,
we the
it's
baddies?
not right. So it's not that far out of character for a government agent to basically go like, relax, we're the good guys. We'll only kill you if we have to.
Yeah. Okay. I will give you that. So the NSA agents, by the way, played by Eddie Jones and Timothy Busfield, and yeah, they pin him down well. They get him
Hmm.
in a I can't get out of this situation. So
Yep.
you know what? That
They're
was
like,
done
yeah.
well, and I
So
appreciated that.
and they basically lay it out for him. They're like, we're the NSA. We think this guy's got some tech that we don't want out there, but we're the NSA, not the FBI, so we can't do anything about it. It's an illegal job. You're going to do it because if you don't, we're going to arrest you for the crime that you pulled back in the 60s that you've been on the run from ever since. Simple
Yep.
as that. But the
Now,
upside is that if you do pull it off, we're offering you $175,000. So,
which
carrot
there's
and the
your
stick.
yeah, so many red flags there because like wait, okay, so if I don't do it, you're gonna arrest me, but if I do it, I get rewarded? Okay,
Right.
no.
Yeah. You're going to give me that much money out of your illegal slush fund? Mm.
Something's off here.
Yeah.
They're mad at him, like his crew, they're mad at him, but one by one they're in. And I gotta say, like just Sidney Poitier, like, he was he was like rough and the straight man and hilarious this entire movie.
Oh yeah. No, he was the perfect not foil. He wasn't quite a foil because he had his own comedy going on at the same time, but basically playing off of mainly Redford most of the time, but occasionally Aykroyd too. while still holding his own. He kind of like, to say he carried the movie is a little much because everyone did hold their own in this. But man, he really was kind of that sort of like that bounce around powerhouse for everybody else's scenes, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
No, I will.
But
I
yeah,
will give that.
I love how they did like a full on domino fall on this, where it's like River Phoenix is the first one to say I'm in, and he's like, I don't care if you lied to me. That's just the money sounds good. I'm in, and then Mother it goes like, well, I'm in too if he's in, you know, and then Poitier is last with the everybody else is in. Poitier is last with, God damn it, you're all chuck lines if I don't come with you, like.
Great
Which
line.
is a great
Yeah,
line.
and the fact that like that is not a funny line. It's a great line. It's a good line. It's a strong line. The fact that he made it funny was incredible to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
Very true.
no,
Yeah.
that was good. Uh, I gotta say, great great delivery with all of them, including the blind guy turning back to look at him when he says Liz.
I know, right?
When you even got the blind dude turning around to give you the look.
So he says, so yeah, there he's got to go visit a college campus to scope out the target, and they're like, "Who do you want to come with you? You want me to come with you? Do you want Mother to come with you?" And he goes, "No, I think I'm gonna ask Liz." First time we hear her name, and it dead stops the entire team. Everyone stops in their tracks and slow turns to look at him of like, really, and he has the audacity to look surprised when they do it.
Yeah, and we never really find out what went wrong there, but I guess we never really
No.
need to.
No, yeah, I mean, she's his ex, and they fell out, and apparently was a big deal because they all know the history about it, and it seems like part of her reasoning, when they meet up again, part of her reasoning is she literally says, "I don't want to be a part of your little boys' club anymore," which suggests that perhaps like whatever was going on in their relationship, he was a little too married to his job for her taste, and so that seems to be at least part of it, if not a
I can
good
see
portion
that.
of it.
I can see
Yeah.
that. And that, by the way, Liz, played by Mary McDonnell. And I like when Redford walks into that piano practice and he looks at her and then he's like, wait, who's playing? And like
Right.
that
Yeah.
look across his face, and then he comes in and he sees the little girl like sitting next to her.
because
I
because the tone
yeah.
of the music changes, like she it look and yeah, even from the audience perspective it looks like she's playing the piano, and then he walks in, she looks up at him, and with her not moving at all, the tone of the music suddenly picks up pace, and it is a very strange moment. And yeah, and then he walks up closer and sees there's like a child sitting next to her playing the piano practicing. An absolutely unnecessary sight gag for an otherwise serious movie that somehow was perfect for this movie. That's
Yeah,
actually one of the interesting things about this movie, is that this is, for all intents and purposes, a serious drama that has all of these weird little comedic moments
but
just dropped in at
this is
random.
very easily a kids movie played by adults,
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yep.
which is kind of wild. Uh, this was that moment where I was like, "Oh my god, that's Donald Logue." I was like they're sitting in the audience, and I honestly don't even remember what the hell they were talking about because the entire time I was like, "That's Don." Like, I was so distracted, and even when they cut away, I was like, "Show me Donal again. I need to see young Donal." I was completely distracted. It was
It's fine because he wasn't saying anything that made sense anyway. That was the point, is that he was going off on high mathematics that Liz understood, but nobody else
no.
did.
I
That
didn't
was
like. I wasn't paying attention to Redford and McDonald's scene, like because I just was
okay.
trying to. I was like, show me Donald again. That's what. Like, I don't. I know I'm not here to see a movie about him, but damn it, right now that is all I care about. Uh, uh, George Hearn as Gregor, and I gotta say, like when he turns around, he goes, "Is that Liz?" He's like, "Yeah," and she's dying to talk to you. That was like That one got a good chuckle out. A lot of this movie got a good chuckle out of me. Now that I'm
Well,
thinking about it.
and it's funny to sit there and think about the dynamic, like that 20 years that this guy's been on the run since being on the run from the FBI as a hacker, and now becoming a sneaker, and there's a whole rich history there because he's been in and lost a relationship with what is clearly a very like high-end professor lady. Like she is like everybody in high academia knows her, and what is obviously an ex-Russian spy who knows them both, who knows and respects and loves both of them. He's literally openly saying to them, he's like, "Isn't it crazy? Since the wall came down, now I can just walk in here." Like,
Yeah, no, like there's a lot of hints to a lot of history of these characters, but we don't get all that much.
no, and it's kind of brilliant in that regard. We get just enough to know what we need to know for the course of the film.
Yep. Then spying on Gunter, played by Donal Logue, I should have mentioned that, and his girlfriend just freaking out about do the thing you did to me in Mexico City, and Redford like, well, I didn't know you could do that in Mexico City, and River Phoenix coming up being like, sir, can I take a look? Like, no, and then Sidney Poitier coming up being like, hey, let me see,
Right. Great exchange. Yeah, great moment. Yeah.
phenomenal moments that were coming through, and discovering the answering machine. I thought that was a great one because like they were talking about the fact that there's an answering machine and the blind guy in the back is the one who keys in on it. Which,
Right.
how did he know there was an answering machine in that video?
The beginning of the video, they ask River Phoenix's character to describe everything in the scene, and so
Okay.
he tells him about he's telling him about the workshop and all of the equipment there, and he tells him about the computer and the plant and the desk lamp and the answering machine and the box of pencils. They're trying to suss out where the thing they're supposed to seal is, and so yeah, he describes the whole room to I don't know if he's describing it to everybody or just Whistler, but he basically gives them a full map of the room so that they can try to figure out where the quote unquote black box is at. And yeah, and then it's Whistler who figures out that the answering machine is the black box.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Then they're breaking in, and River with the boxes of Drano and Redford with the cake. That was great because the more I thought about the scene, the more I realized how well that was crafted.
Yeah,
and so Redford
and
comes
that's
up
the
first.
only con man moment that they pull off because
Yes.
it's all about
So Redford comes up first, saying, "Is there a cake behind here? My wife's supposed to drop it off." And then, like, there's a honk outside. He's like, "Oh, there it is," establishing that he is a guest at a hotel or at the hotel and everything like that. Then, with the argument between River and the clerk, Redford comes back with the cake, and he's waiting for there. He's got all these distractions, and he gets in.
Yep.
And honestly, very like many times I've seen that played out, I feel like that was damn near the smoothest.
Yep.
And really very believable. So
Yeah, and it's all about like building up the anxiety, and then even Redford's character is even throwing some of that entitlement of like, I belong here, how dare you keep me out, kind of thing, and it all but it does kind of harken back to a simpler time when like they said in the paper, a clipboard and a confident wave will get you into any building in America.
well, until you come up against 1992's impossible to crack technology, the electronic keypad.
The electronic keypad doorknob.
And I was like, and then he just kicks the door open.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that moment like 1,000 times, but I don't care. It's always fun.
Yep. I'm pretty sure it was here first.
Not a clue. Just funny. Just it always lands. I don't think it ever doesn't land like that. It's just a good gag.
Yeah. Nope, I agree.
Getting busted and saying that he's a PI for Logue's non-existent wife. And this whole scene with Aykroyd and Poitier and like,
I know.
oh
Like I
my
said, these
god.
guys are not con men, and so they could not have biffed this up anymore and yet somehow still crawl their way out of it. Yeah, where they're trying, like they can't even do proper improv here, let alone a con. I mean,
No, and they're sitting there, they're like, and they're just like continuously telling him, like, tell her to give him head whenever he wants. Give him head,
right? Yeah,
give him, and he's like, give him help whenever he needs.
right. They're not even being helpful by the end there. They're trying to deliberately screw up the operation.
No, they're basically being God, what was that show with the four friends, the prankster show, like where like they would send one of them off to do something crazy embarrassing, and
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I have not. I don't know the name of it either. I don't think I
basically
ever saw it.
this was the birth of that. Oh god, that show is hilarious. I'm not a big
I
fan
have
of
seen
reality
clip.
TV, but god, it was funny.
I have seen it almost entirely in um oil whenever my oil changed. Like whenever I go to get my oil changed and I'm sitting and waiting in the lobby, it's almost always that on the TV screen in the lobby. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about oil change places that's what it is, but that's basically the only time and place I have ever seen that show.
Not a bad one. Not a bad one. I mean,
No,
like
I mean, yeah.
every time I go to the VA, they have like Circle Gets a Square. Like they're playing old game shows from the '60s. It's weird. Like I like you guys realize that people kept serving, right? uh,
That's
uh,
harsh. That's harsh, man.
the dance montage to what happened to Cosmo and what'll you do with the money. That dance montage was actually really fun.
Yeah.
Like there was
Everyone
a
was
good
happy
amount
to
of goof
see
there.
Liz again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that was fun. I thought that was a good time. Um,
The
playing
what you would do with the
Scrabble.
money scene was
Oh, go
was
ahead.
weird. The what you would do with the money scene was interesting because first of all, like we're talking about 175 grand split 5 ways. So, we're talking like oh shit, I used to be able to do math in my head.
Oh, you
We're
were
talking like
talking like 40?
yeah. No, it was a little more than that. I think it's no, yeah,
No,
it's about
40,
40 grand.
40
Yeah.
by 40 would be 200, so it'd be a little like 37.
Yeah, so basically it's a year's pay, in one day. So yeah, they're not thinking big right away. It's like Aykroyd says he wants a Winnebago so he can, do his conspiracy theory because all conspiracy theorists live in Winnebagos for some reason. So he wants his. And what I found especially hilarious is that he says he wants his Winnebago to have a waterbed in it, which, my God, a Winnebago with a waterbed in it. I cannot think of a bigger disaster in life than that.
That would be terrible.
But then, yeah, yeah. But even Sidney Poitier is like, I want to travel Europe with my wife. We've never been to Europe together, so we're going to do that. And then we get into the weird stuff. That's when it's like Whistler says he wants peace on Earth. It's like, dude, we all want peace on Earth. What are you going to do with your 30 grand that you can throw away? Come on, and then the kid River Phoenix, he says, I just want to have a meaningful relationship like what you have with Liz, and that's like an uncomfortable moment of this like they don't have a relationship anymore, kid. Chill, and also again, we're only getting 30 grand here. You're not going to be the Sultan of Brunei. You're not just going to be able to pick a chick. Calm
Yeah,
down,
right. Which,
So,
yeah, yeah. So that was the
I
thing
know,
where
right?
they
Yeah.
take the C-Tech astronomy and they're playing Scrabble and they figure out that it's an anagram. I
Right.
will say for like the 3 or 4 anagrams that they do come up with, cooties, rat, semen had me scream laughing. That killed me. That completely took
Yep.
me out. But it went from C-Tech astronomy to Too Many Secrets. And they figure out that it's a code breaker master key. And Poitier is rightfully freaking.
Because Whistler's he's just fooling around with it. Like the party's winding down, everyone's playing Scrabble but him, and so he just decides to take a look at this thing they just stole and fiddle with it, see what it does. And holy shit, he finds some shit, and he figures out pretty quick what it does.
Well, yeah, it is the master key. Exactly what I said.
Yep.
Like I said, Poitier is freaking out because he says there's not a government on this planet that would not kill everyone in this room for this. And he is correct. And throughout the course of the night, nothing happens, and then they head off to the handoff. And yeah, this scene was a little problematic because
it was weird.
Yeah, he reaches for the gun, then shoots at him in broad daylight, but he doesn't. But he like lets him go all the way to the car before shooting at him. That was a very weird decision for that, and I don't know how the filmmakers justified that at all. That was
It was over quick, I think, is what they were hoping, because we went immediately to not quite a car chase, more like a car, yeah, like more like a car runaway, you know, and then they go from there to the government, the federal building that he met them in, only to find that it has been demolished. And they immediately follow that up with finding out
because it had been set. It had been set for to be demolished for a while, and it used to be an NSA building for like 5, but it was vacated 2 years or.
No, it was. That's the thing. It's like it wasn't even ever an NSA building. It was the Department of Agriculture had. That
that's
building.
what it was. Okay, so it was a government building. But,
right.
Okay.
It was Department of Agriculture, and they said that, and that was one of the things that River Phoenix is like shouting about. He says like the NSA's never even had an office in San Francisco. They've always been in LA. Like that's one of the things he shouts, that they literally, if they had done a little bit of research before talking to this guy.
Hold up. Are we really gonna say that there is no clandestine or black site for communications for the NSA? Like, are we really gonna say that every location for the NSA is found in the yellow pages? Come on.
In this movie, apparently they wanted to. Yes, they wanted to point out how bloody obvious it was that these guys weren't NSA. They should have known from the get go. This is basically them rattling off all the reasons why they're idiots, that they shouldn't have fallen.
Okay, but see, that didn't seem like an idiotic thing for anybody on the crew other than River Phoenix to me. Like, dude, this the secret administration that does like pull stuff and surveillance and has all these secrets, they didn't list it in the yellow pages. I just kind of figured everybody there was just like, okay, kid, like, all right.
And I suppose that's possible because they don't react to it. He's just sort of sitting there shouting by himself in that scene. So
yeah, that's I kind of figured that was one of those moments where all the old guys are like, all right, kid, go get a cookie. We'll handle this. The full panic of leaving their headquarters and ditching everything and heading to that concert to snag Gregor. He swears by his innocence and then does the "you must trust me" thing, which is definitely always "I'm the bad guy" language. Not in this movie.
No, that's the crazy thing. We find out in a pretty insane way that no, actually Gregor was maybe not. I mean, he might have still
on
been
their
a
side.
bad guy,
not a good guy, but he was on their side.
Right? Yeah. He probably definitely genuinely wanted to protect Bishop for this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then getting pulled over by the cops and having that murder staged, and that, like, my buddy. My single biggest surprise for this was Ben Kingsley with hair.
Yep. Just appearing out of the darkness with a Bronx accent.
A very, very strange Bronx accent.
Right.
But I seriously though, Ben Kingsley with hair is probably the biggest shock. Not just Ben Kingsley, Ben Kingsley with hair. It has been
a ponytail. He didn't just have hair; he had a little ponytail back there.
Yeah, see, I didn't know Ben Kingsley had hair in the 90s. I thought he left that in the 80s. Like that was a kind of a shock for me. And then finding out that Cosmo helped the mafia and they got him out of prison, and that's when he faked his death. And finding out that Cosmo wants to crash the entire system. No more rich people, no more poor people, just people being equal. And wouldn't that be a utopia? And Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's get
and
rid of
that's
everything that generations of families have spent like years scraping by a nickel a week and everything like that, and let's see them not react to that.
and that's a weird one because like that's the thing is like Cosmo is a hard character to pin down because he like okay yeah he's saying this stuff but also at the same time the dude has been working for the mafia for the last 20 years or the last 10, 15 years however whenever it was they got him out of prison.
Oh, dude, like I like
um
he was going too far. There's doing something, and then there's
yeah
going too far.
so
Crashing the entire
and
system is going too far.
but that's the thing is like we don't really know for sure of how much of that he's serious about. How much of that is he really saying, "No, I'm continuing the fight that we started back in the day," and just kind of gone crazy and too far on it, versus how much of that is just him playing Robert Redford's characters to just kind of let him know, "Hey, you're in over your head, buddy. So you can either join me or you can fuck off. It's your call."
Well, like I said, this is a kids movie, so I think it is the latter.
Okay. Okay.
Because quite literally, when Redford is on a ladder, he gets away by just walking away. That's
That's
kids
true.
that's
That's
kids
true.
movie stuff.
That is a surprisingly non-violent approach to a movie such as this. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
You
Uh
know what's funny? I had never really thought about this as a kids movie, but
hmm,
now that you point that out, now it's all of a sudden hitting me. Like, oh yeah, this was a really PG movie for what the
yeah.
subject matter was. That had never occurred to me before.
Oh, I would totally take this as like a 90s preteen movie.
Huh. Okay.
Like I mean, oh my god, the final scene especially, that is oh my god 90s kid movie.
No, that's a very good point. That is a good. You got a good point there. Okay. Yeah.
But
Maybe
then
because I was a teenager when it came out, I just didn't notice.
it would because it was made for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Uh the question when when Redford asked him is like, "You haven't gone crazy on me." And he's like, "Well, who else will change the world?" He's like, "I have gone crazy on me."
Right. Yeah.
Great deliveries, man. Like really good deliveries. Like I'm really like the more I key in on Robert Redford from like back in the 80s and stuff like that, I really understand the whole conversation for decades that Brad Pitt is the next Robert.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He
Yep.
completely was. Like and he
Hmm.
ran with that. Um
Totally did. Yep.
Showing up to Liz's and apologizing. And I felt like the apology was kind of like that was a nice moment. It was kind of a sweet thing, but they didn't go too far with it, and I like that. And then
Yep.
immediately taking over her entire apartment.
Oh, from this moment on, all we do is feel sorry for Liz. Cause my God,
Really?
her, yeah. I mean, she like, and you kind of sit there and go like, oh, this is probably why she broke up with him last time is because shit like this was probably happening all the
That's the boys'
time.
club shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
her apartment
Yeah.
literally got turned into a clubhouse. So
Yep.
kind of see it. Uh, Calling the NSA with that relay, and I love that Straithairn's like, these boys have never seen nothing like this, and then they track it like basically immediately, and he's like, okay,
Right.
what?
Yeah.
I thought
Like, uh-uh.
I had a lot of fun with that.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, you probably think that now that you've been sitting there with your little computer equipment in your little shutaway room, but while you've been doing this, every day their crap's getting better. Like,
Yeah. Like that's the interesting thing they don't bring up is the fact that DARPA has existed for like 20 years by this time. All right. So, slow your roll, folks. You don't know shit.
right? Uh, Retracking his trunk ride, and the swans sound like a cocktail party. I couldn't stop laughing about that. The more I thought about it, the more I was laughing. I was like, oh my god, this joke doesn't stop. It keeps going. The more you think about it, it
And the
was
whole time that they're in the scene talking about it, and you can hear those swans quacking in the background, and you're like, oh my God, it is. And I actually wondered about that too, like this viewing, because knowing it was coming and stuff like that. I wondered if to really sell it, if they actually mixed in some actual like cocktail party background noise in with the swans just to sell it. I don't think they did. I think they actually were just. I think it was just swan sounds, and it's just like, yeah, when you get 100 swans all talking, it does kind of sound like a bunch of people chattering. You never noticed it before, but yeah, it's weird.
Well, I've never been around a big group of swans. I'm from North Dakota. I got Canadian geese.
Oh,
They don't sound like that. It sounds like a traffic jam.
right.
The blind guy coming in with all the skills on retracing all that, recreating the sounds of the bridge and all of like narrowing down the bridge. I thought that was a very
Figuring
good
out
scene.
exactly
I really
yeah.
enjoyed that scene because let's go ahead and basically talk about the power of neurodivergence.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because he was not just blind. Like, no
Oh no,
way.
yeah, I see your point. Yep. No, he had the details of everything down. Yep.
He had everything stored away. He had access to all these things. Like that was like neurodivergent, OCD. Like there was something more. He was not just blind. Because
yeah,
yes, blind people may hear better, smell like stronger,
but not
whatever.
all blind people
degree.
have not all blind people have a cache of bridge noises that they can play on demand to go, did it sound like this, or did it sound like this?
Yeah. Figuring out how to get access to Cosmo's neighboring office was really fun. Because Stephen Tobolowsky,
leading us into one of like an out of nowhere guest appearance.
which I'm sorry, poor Leroy Brown. I felt bad for the song, man. That was hurting me. I like that song.
It is a good, and that's why it's popular at karaoke.
It hurt though.
Everybody likes that song.
That it is. They do. That is true. Liz coming in, a great start to getting all of those words. She's like, "Where do you want to travel to? Like, how do you say your name?"
Right, yeah. And like, why? Like, it's kind of hard to feel for this guy. Like, you still feel for Liz on this one, because even though she's coming in to honeypot this guy, which is just a shit move to do to a poor innocent dude, but right out of the gate, this guy is doing everything wrong. So you quickly just feel sorry for Liz again. Like, after all the shit that she's been through and the fact that she's being pushed into doing this fake date to get this guy's voice code password, this guy right out of the gate is such a shit date that even though she is the villain in this scene, you still feel sorry for her.
Yeah, he's a shit date, but I almost want to go a step further and say he's like Predator light, because who only has a phone in their bedroom?
That is a very good point.
Granted, I was alive all through the 90s, and I did have a phone in my bedroom when I was a teenager, but it wasn't the only phone in the house.
Phone, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that was I was like, when he's like, "Can I use your phone?" He's like, "Yeah, it's in the bedroom," and I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, Liz, you're not gonna say, "Can I use a different phone?"
Right.
Maybe
you don't have one in the kitchen like every other household in America.
Yeah, like what? Like, okay, so it's only in the bedroom. All right, go. Can I use their bathroom telephone? Because clearly, like, something's weird here.
Right.
No, that was, yeah. Coaxing him into saying the word passport, and even Kelly was like, "Okay, that was a smooth line." He's like, "Would you like to get breakfast with me?" And I'm like. And Kelly's like, "That was smooth." And I'm like, "No, it was not. No. No. That is how that would go if I tried something like that. No, that ain't smooth. That is like, no. That, but of course,
That's only
my
smooth if
next
it's like
note.
your fourth date, not your first.
Well, my next note is literally, Mr. Werner, you breakfast champion. Probably the dumbest note I've ever put down for the show, but I was having too much fun with that one. Um, then you have River Phoenix going into the building, and
Right.
you have Dan Aykroyd acting as River Phoenix outside. Yeah, because they had the same body type.
Right, yeah, that was pretty funny. You got because the idea is that he's gonna sneak in and he's dressed like a gardener, but also like a big red, I think it was a New York Knicks hat or something like that.
Oh no, it was
Basically,
just
like
everybody with the landscapers. They all had red hats. That was the landscaping
okay.
uniform. Yeah,
I feel like it was a baseball hat for some reason, but yeah, okay. The
probably.
idea was that the idea is that he was supposed to like look specific so that when the guard starts going, wait a second, why hasn't the guy come out of the bathroom? And then he would see Dan Aykroyd outside dressed exactly the same, and he wouldn't think that's another gardener. That is the gardener that I've been looking for. He got outside already. Which yes, to think that we're talking about River Phoenix and Dan Aykroyd, yeah, how would you
That's
mistake those
basically
two
like
people?
Timothy Chalamet and Russell Crowe right now playing body doubles for each other. Like, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
That actually is basically exactly like that now that I think about it. Uh, the toy dog that the whole point of it, like, it obeys commands, like walk forward, play dead, all that,
Right.
and then knocking over Liz's purse, and so she'd been giving him the name Doris, and this is where he finds her real name,
Right.
and him showing up in the bedroom door, like I was like, literally, you could not have
Yeah.
given more of a Predator vibe. Like, it was right there, and the movie just kind of never addressed it. And I'm like, okay, this is a kids movie. There's no
Okay.
way, if this movie was not made for kids, nothing about that would have been like, no line of dialogue in any way at all about that. That's where like things like that kind of kept locking this in. Then when
See,
I went to
and
go
I
check
just
out
think,
some reviews afterwards, a lot of people, like, every review was, when I was a kid, this was my favorite movie.
see, and yeah, and this thing is like even in my head, I'm like remembering seeing the trailers on TV. It was not marketed as a kids movie that I can remember. It was marketed as a bit of a comedy, but like at no point did I ever get kids movie vibe
Well,
off this thing. I
it's like
think I
it's a
was
comedy that you could take a kid to. I think is
yeah.
really,
You
really
could
what I should be
you could
saying.
call it yeah, you could call it a family movie. This is something that yeah, the family could watch on a whole
That's a good way
together.
to go. Not
Yes.
a kids movie, a family movie. That is okay. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that step back. Marty hides in the ceiling. And this whole sequence, as he breaks in, he has to move at 2 inches per second. And I kept trying to think about that. I was like, what is 2 inches per second? Like, how? I was trying to think about that. Like, is it that slow?
2 inches per second? I mean,
It's not
it's definitely
fast.
slower than normal. Yeah, it's definitely slower than a normal walking pace, but that doesn't feel that slow.
It really
Yeah.
doesn't. Like, I kind of like, I wanted to kind of extrapolate that at some point, and I probably should have,
Someone
because I'm not
call
gonna do that now.
Mythbusters. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so he has to go at like 2 inches per second, and he's really moving slow. And Poitier jumps on. He's like, "You're gonna want to hurry." And like Redford's face is like,
Well, let's not forget he's moving 2 inches per second in a room where the room temperature has been raised to 98.5 degrees to match his
nice.
body temperature. So it's a hot slow move.
Yeah, not a great day to be Redford. However, they
Right.
definitely didn't actually crank the heat or anything like that. They didn't even make him look that sweaty.
No, that's
So
true. Yeah, he was surprisingly dry for that scene. That is true.
yeah,
You can't
uh,
you can't make Robert Redford look sweaty. No, no, no. The ladies won't dig that. Which I know. What idiot thought that up?
um, the Marty hides in the ceiling when they come back, and the way that Cosmo catches her, wow, he did not see the world going the way that it went because computers are not that good at matching people.
I know, right? She said, after the whole debacle, she says, that's the last time I'm doing computer dating. And Cosmo stops in, what, you're telling me a computer matched her with him? Nah, that ain't right. Something's up. And wow, yeah, here we are 30 years later, and we're like, oh no, yeah, that happens all the fucking time.
Oh yeah,
That
people
is
get
all
matched
we
up
get
like
anymore, yeah.
96% and they have literally nothing in common. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is a decently common thing. Then that face off, you always had to win. And then Cosmo's like, I never got the girl until now. And I'm like, okay, there was never anything established that they were ever having problems with girls or anything like that.
No.
Didn't need that line in there. That was just because there's a woman in the movie. That is the only reason that
Right,
that line was in there. River drops from the ceiling shouting Geronimo, and he shouted Geronimo so poorly that if I didn't have the subtitles on, I would not have known he said Geronimo. And what a dated reference.
Didn't. I didn't have the subtitles on for this one ever in any time I've seen this, and I have never known until you just told me that was what he shouted. I always thought it was just "Gah!" the whole time because
that's what it sounds like.
Out that because he's throwing himself through the ceiling tiles to jump on these guys, and it just sounds like a weird war cry. But yeah, you're telling me that according to the subtitles he yells Geronimo. I call bullshit. I don't think that that's true.
Yeah, no. Either he was supposed to or somebody after the fact was having fun with it, but no. He does not say Geronimo. He goes, oh!
Right, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, no. Poitier and Aykroyd get busted, and this is why this moment in the film was so out of place, when that guy calls Poitier midnight, that just, I get that stuff like that happens. I get that, like, in the real world, racism pops up out of nowhere and it doesn't necessarily come from a place. Like, it can hit like that. Holy shit, did I not feel like that fit this movie?
It was kind of a weird out of nowhere thing. And it seemed like they put it there just to set up Poitier's line later. When he says to Aykroyd, did I ever tell you why they kicked me out of the CIA? Because of my temper. And then that's when he beats up the two rent-a-cops or mob enforcers, whoever the fuck these guys
whatever
are. It's never really made clear as to what their exact role was. But it's like, yeah, that was never necessary because it was kind of all already set up where they need to get away from these guys because they got guns pointed at them for starters, and they're about to get distracted by the fact that the blind guy is driving a car. And so you don't need to have a whole, like, by the way, I'm about to lose my temper because this guy used a racist epithet at me. So brace yourself. Like, nope, didn't need any of that.
Yeah,
but there wasn't much else going on with Poitier's character outside of that. So maybe it was just kind of, maybe they wanted to throw him a bone to give him a little extra dimension. I don't know.
I mean, the fact that you got to throw the black guy a racist bone to give him more character, that, like, there are other ways that could have gone, and like I said, like it didn't feel like it matched this movie.
No, I see your point there. Yeah,
like and I mean, obviously, it made me uncomfortable as hell. That is not something that I like. I was very much enjoying a lot of aspects of this, and all of a sudden, bam, racism. Even the bad guys weren't even really that bad. We're more like kind of third act Hudson Hawk bad guys. Like, they weren't even really, they weren't even really that bad. And then all of a sudden you get something like that tossed in there. Yeah. But like, I don't know why it was in there. Like what you just said may exactly be it. The blind man driving was a great scene. And it actually, good scene. It was filmed actually, I felt like it was actually somewhat realistic. How much he was bouncing around the inside of there, how much the things that he was hitting. Because a lot of other times you would have the blind guy like magically not hit something. Like, no, he hit everything.
Yeah, and and we as the audience are also kind of like, we're like, every time he hits a bump, the audience doesn't see it coming, so we're just as surprised as Whistler is when he's like, "Oh, what did I just hit?" You know, and as he's going along, the only precursor we get is when he's about to hit those two parked cars, and you've got Redford on the roof trying to direct him, going like, "A little to the right. Oh no, my right. I mean, never mind." And then we see him hit the cars, and that's the only time we get to see ahead of time what he's about to hit. Everything else, we're all just as shocked and jarred as Whistler is through the whole thing. It really, really, really well done, right up to the very end too, where he's like, "All right, 5 more seconds," and then stop, and Whistler just bangs right into the wall.
Agreed. Loved it.
Yeah.
The face-off between Kingsley and Redford. If it wasn't for Kingsley's goofy accent, I probably would have loved the hell out of this scene way more. But I got pretty
It was a
distracted
weird,
by his
yeah.
accent. Like
Yep.
that was a tough one for me. And his ponytail, just that one got me. Like it was very. It's just
Cosmo's
so
a
weird.
complicated character, man. He's a complicated dude.
I did like that line where it was talking about you worked for organized crime. Like, let's be honest, they're not that organized. I thought that was fun.
Right? Yeah.
I thought that was like
This is
that was
good
a, that was a
line,
good
yeah.
line. It was a good
And,
getaway.
and what's the thing? And he even shows too. He's like, "Let me show." Like he's like, "Here's what I did for them for the last 20 years. That changed their organization entirely and basically made me king." And he shows him what he did. And what did he do? A fucking spreadsheet. That's what he did for the mob. That made him their number one guy.
Can't tell me this ain't like a halfway kid movie.
I mean, it was the 90s, man. That was magic to us back then.
Oh God. Oh, that's hard to view it in that light. Because this is like the same year that like Blank Check came out.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah.
No, so man. And then we talked about this earlier, that like that getaway, like the way that Redford gets away from the situation is he just walks away. And he just gets away. It's like, dude, stop him.
Because
Kingsley opened the recorder before Redford could have even got off that ladder. Like,
yeah. But I think that's kind of the point, is like that, like again, Cosmo's a complicated person. For all this shit, he can't be the one to pull the trigger. That like see it before, where he's like, "I can't kill my friend," and then he turns to the goons and goes, "Please kill my friend," and walks out of the room because he doesn't even want to watch it happen. Like, for all the shit that this guy is doing and wanting to do and willing to do, the one thing he can't do is actually pull the trigger.
that is true.
He's still Cosmo, you know?
Pretty impotent villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get our ending with and find out that Mr. Abbott was James Earl Jones. And here is my favorite moment of this movie. When Robert Redford is just talking to him and he kind of turns around and James Earl Jones, and like they're giving their demands, and Jones just like shouts, "No!" And just you see Redford's like he kind of freaks out when I don't think Redford was ready for that. I don't think he knew he was gonna shout like that.
Yep.
That was my personal favorite. Actually, my two favorite moments of this film, when Redford biffs it going over the counter, which I'm pretty sure was a blooper, and this moment that I'm pretty sure was also basically a blooper. Like, this is like when you get incredible actors together that can do something like that and then keep the scene going without breaking. That is a really great thing. Like, I really enjoy that. So as our demands go, Straithairn wants, Aykroyd wants a Winnebago.
Right, yeah. They basically ask for what they, in the scene before, when they said, "What are you going to do with the money?" That's what they make their demands to the real NSA now.
But I love that because when Poitier is going through all the places and then Redford's like, "Antahiti," he's like, "Antahiti," and Joe's like, "Tahiti is not in Europe."
Right.
There were some severely amazing moments of this film. And River just wants Amy Benedict's phone number.
Yep. the young lady with the Uzi there, is she single? That's what
That's it.
that
That's
is
it.
I think that is one of my favorite lines in movie history is the young lady with the Uzi there, is she single? Like, I think I may have actually said that in real life once when I thought I had the chance.
You have never met somebody with an Uzi. What?
No. Halloween happens.
Okay, all right, all right. Oh,
Yeah.
damn. All right. I was like, because I've never even met somebody with an Uzi.
I don't even think she had an Uzi in that scene, did she?
I don't. Ooh, crap! I didn't even bother to look. I was just trying to figure out who she was, and I'm like, okay, I recognize her, but I don't know her.
And who? Yeah, I remember thinking she was familiar too. Who was she again?
Amy Benedict. She was in like some Star Trek shows. She was. I mean, you can check her IMDb. She is one of those consistently working actors, like soap operas, all this stuff, and she's been going for decades. She just
Okay.
never reached that full on acclaim. But like
Okay.
just like she's in this movie, she is in a bunch of stuff that very well known.
Okay. Cool.
I'm gonna say, oh wait, nope. My final thing: Straithairn wants peace and goodwill towards men. And what does James Earl Jones say? We're the government.
We are the
don't
United
do that
States
sort of
government.
thing.
We don't do that sort of thing. Yes. He doesn't just say that we're the government. We're the United States government. We don't do that sort of thing.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Absolutely outstanding. And then we find out that they kept the master code and the RNC is now bankrupt and all these charities have been fully funded and
Greenpeace and United Negro College Fund and one other I can't remember. Yeah. And
yeah.
and it's great too because we basically end with the news report. You know, the Republican National Committee is bankrupt. They said the money was there last week and they just don't know where it went. In other news, these other organizations are flush with cash. Like the glee on the reporter's face where he's sitting there going like, "Oh, we know what happened. We can't say, but we know, and fucking we love it because fuck the RNC."
All right. So,
But you know what's even more funny is the fact that now in 2024, we actually do have something similar happening. The RNC is also going bankrupt and they also don't know where the money is going, and we all know where it's going.
Yeah, we all know exactly where the money went. Are you kidding me here? All right.
Yeah, yep.
So I'm not going to put this on the must-see list, but I am going to put this on the highly recommended list.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm torn. Because we like going through this again for the first time in I think maybe it was maybe 10 years ago was the last time I saw this. And looking at it with a little bit more critical eye, there are a lot of issues there that I would say maybe this is one that should remain in the past. But man, I do still feel like in my soul it is a must see because it's been on my own personal must see list for so long, telling everybody they got to see it just from the cast alone. And subject matter wise, just the kind of like that sort of like fantasy realm of, too many secrets and no more secrets and all that. There's a sort of like almost like you were saying on the level of a kid's movie, there's a sort of element to this of, that there is still a Robin Hood out there kind of idea, and that's kind of a feel good message to this whole thing. While also, at the same time, kind of throwing a little bit of their, to a point, Cosmo's idea of bankrupting everyone and everything that goes too far, but stealing from the RNC, that's still good.
Well, here's the thing, because the only performance in this film that I would actually credit as being genuine performing is Straithairn.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else just kind of everybody else this kind of seems like the 1992 version of Grown Ups, where it's just a bunch of A-list actors getting together and having fun.
And you know what? I agree actually with that, but that's what wins with me. That's what I like about it, is that you literally have, you got Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix, Sidney Poitier, Robert Redford. And now granted, it probably wouldn't be that weird to see Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier in a movie together. They are two powerhouses. I'm sure if I looked, I'd probably find another movie that they're in together, because they definitely were at the level together. But when you're throwing in Dan Aykroyd and River Phoenix with them, like that's amazing. Like, who would even think of that, let alone throw $10 million budget at it, you know, or more? I can't remember what the budget was for this movie, but
I can't remember. I don't think
yeah.
I
And then
looked. I looked at the 13th Warrior because they were calling it like a box office disaster, and I'm like, it made over $60 million.
Well, what was the budget for it?
It was over 100 million, but still.
Oh, okay. Well, see
But
that. Yeah,
like in my
that
mind,
counts.
because of Borderlands this week and like all the reporting on that, the fact that I'm looking at that, because in 1992, yes, that was an epic disaster. In the 2020s, Black Adam was an epic disaster, financially tanked. Um, oh my God, The Flash, epic, the financial disaster on that one. Borderlands, $10 million opening weekend budget. That doesn't even cover the actors' salaries.
Yeah, no, that's harsh.
Yeah, no. So like when you call something like a flop and an epic disaster, and it's made 6 times the amount of money than a movie that came out 30 years later, like, oh, we might have to like take our
But
definition of a flop and really look at that again.
I mean, well, I
It
mean,
lost money.
that's
Yes.
the thing. It lost like half its money. I mean, you kind of, that's a failure no matter how you shake it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, remember what we were talking about before? Like, what's counts as the biggest win? That would be Airplane, a three and a
Oh
half
yeah.
million dollar budget, and made $160 million in its box office, and continued to rake the money in on cable and home video sales for
DVD,
decades to
Blu-ray,
come.
VHS for
Yeah,
decades. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, looks like just didn't agree on this one.
yeah, no, and it's been a while since that's happened, but but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say that Sneakers is a must see, as a period piece, if nothing else. This is made back in the day when
Like when
spreadsheets
like the
were
burgeoning
amazing.
technology was like really starting to like come out. Like it is kind of a throw to
Yep,
that. So for tech heads, maybe
maybe.
like tech head fans of the heist movie art.
Mm-hmm. Oh, because this is definitely a way throw off of that genre. This is like the opposite of a heist movie almost, because you've got
No,
the
it's
break-in
it's more
artists.
like it's like goofy enemy of the state.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's really what it is. Like you remember Enemy of the State with Will Smith?
I do. Will Smith and Gene Hackman. Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, this is that, but
You
goofy.
know what's really fucking funny? I had the funniest thing happen. I did see Enemy of the
Is
State,
this
like, on home video.
is this an episode conversation or
Oh yeah, I suppose we could take this off. Yeah,
okay,
it's just
all
kind of a
right.
weird little anecdote, but yeah.
Oh no, I just want to close it so uh I can get the edit down. All right,
I gotcha.
so that is going to bring a close to episode 20, and next week we are going to have what? Let's see. Oh, next week are we doing the big 2006 face off?
Oh yeah, yeah. You got two oh six movies that I haven't seen because I was out of town when that shit went down.
Mhm.
But
I got
but
like
yeah.
yeah. So the great 2006 debate that really took over a lot of conversations, especially for film buffs, was The Prestige versus The Illusionist. Two films, essentially period pieces, revolving around stage performers, and that is about as much as I'm going to get into. The Prestige is starring Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, and Scarlett Johansson. The Illusionist is starring Edward Norton, Jessica Biel, Paul Giamatti, and Rufus Sewell, and they are both
Those are two really epic casts. Yeah.
incredible.
Well, and I do remember seeing the trailer to The Illusionist, but
You were in
yeah,
China when they came
I was
out,
in
right?
China. Didn't
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to see it in the theater. I do remember wanting to see it after seeing the trailer, but the Prestige, I don't even remember when I first heard of that. I think I was all the way back in the country before I heard anyone even mention it. So yeah,
I
yeah,
am
this
I
big
am surprised
this
there
big
is a
debate
Chris
you're
Nolan
mentioning.
film. Like, I
Yeah,
am
this
just
big
genuinely surprised that there is a Christopher Nolan film that you have not seen.
that is kind of shocking. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd heard, I think I did remember hearing of the Prestige after a couple years, but no one really told me what it's about. They were all just like, "Oh, Prestige, great movie, you should see it." Like, and I was just like, "All right, I'll get around to it, whatever, you know." But yeah, that cast you just meant, like Hugh Jackman and Scarlett Johansson in a movie together. No one told me that. I mean, what the hell? These
There
people
was
call
also
themselves my
another
friends.
2006 movie where ScarJo and Hugh Jackman were together. It's called Scoop. It's also another movie about magic, actually.
That's right. I did see Scoop. I forgot
Okay.
that was Hugh Jackman. Okay, yes, I saw Scoop. Did like that one. Yes.
But yeah, like, so yeah, 2006, Hugh Jackman and ScarJo, they were raking the money in. All right, so that's going to bring a close to episode 20, and we'll see you next week.